Standing in my wedding dress phone, buzzing with Uncle Frank's message, a photo loads my entire family on a luxury yacht in crystal blue Maui waters. Parents, siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles. Champagne glasses raised. Mom's text from this morning echoes, "We won't make it. Don't take it personally." The church fills with James's family. Empty pews on my side. My hands shake as I read the yacht's banner, celebrating Family Unity Week. Today, my wedding day. They planned this. All of them knew. The phone slipped from my trembling fingers, clattering against the marble floor of the bridal suite. My maid of honor, James's sister Patricia, rushed to pick it up, but I had already seen enough. The image burned into my mind, 23 members of my family, dressed in matching tropical shirts, raising champagne flutes on the deck of a pristine white yacht. The Hawaiian sunset painted the sky behind them in shades of pink and orange that should have been beautiful, but instead felt like mockery. "Mildred, honey, what's wrong?" Patricia asked, her voice full of concern, as she noticed my face draining of color. I couldn't speak. My mind raced backward through the past 6 months, replaying every conversation, every excuse, every lie. When James and I had announced our engagement at Thanksgiving dinner, Mom's first words weren't congratulations. They were, "April 20th, that date won't work for us." "But Mom," I had protested, "I already checked with everyone. You all said you were free." Now the deception unraveled like a cheap sweater. I grabbed my phone back from Patricia and scrolled through my messages, searching for evidence I had somehow missed. There it was, plain as day. Dad's text from January. "April 20th looks perfect, sweetheart. Wouldn't miss it for the world." Mom's response from February. "Booked the date on my calendar, so excited." Sister Emma's enthusiasm from March. "Already shopping for my bridesmaid dress." Lies, every single word. My phone buzzed again. Another photo from Uncle Frank this time, showing the interior of the yacht. A banner hung across the main cabin. "Thompson Family Unity Week. Making memories that matter." In the corner of the image, I spotted something that made my blood run cold. A whiteboard with an itinerary. At the top, in my brother Tyler's unmistakable handwriting, schedule April 14th through 21st. Avoid all contact with M during ceremony day. M. That was me. They had reduced me to an initial A problem to be avoided. "Patricia," I whispered, my voice cracking, "they've been planning this for months." She looked at the photos, her expression shifting from confusion to shock to anger. "Are you telling me your entire family skipped your wedding for a vacation?" "Not just any vacation," I said, zooming in on another detail. "Look at the yacht's name. They're painted in elegant script on the vessel's side, Inheritance Dreams." My stomach churned. Grandma Rose had passed away 18 months ago, leaving me her entire estate. It wasn't a fortune, but it was substantial, $47,000, meant to help James and me buy our first home. The will had been specific, naming only me as beneficiary. My family had been furious, especially Dad, who believed as the eldest son, he deserved the money. But Grandma Rose had her reasons, ones that were becoming crystal clear now. Patricia guided me to the velvet settee, fanning my face with the wedding program. "We need to tell James." "No," I said firmly. "Not yet. He's probably already at the altar. I won't ruin this day more than they already have." But my mind kept working, piecing together clues I had been too trusting to see. 3 months ago, Dad had called about a medical emergency. He needed temporary access to my accounts to help manage bills while he underwent surgery. I had added him as an authorized user on my emergency fund, the account where Grandma Rose's inheritance sat waiting for our house down payment. He promised to remove himself once his procedure was complete. Except now I realized there had been no surgery. His mysterious recovery had been remarkably quick. No follow-up appointments, no scars, no medical bills that I ever saw. Another text arrived, this time from my cousin Brad's wife, who had apparently decided to document every moment of their Hawaiian adventure. The photos showed my family at a beachside restaurant toasting with cocktails. The timestamp read 2 p.m. Hawaii time. That was 7 p.m. here. In 30 minutes, I was supposed to walk down the aisle. "They're not coming," I said out loud, the reality finally sinking in. "My entire family chose a vacation over my wedding." Patricia squeezed my hand. "Their loss. You've got us now. The whole Mitchell family is here for you." Through the suite's window, I could see guests arriving at the church. James's relatives filled the parking lot, dressed in their finest, carrying gifts and warm smiles. His elderly grandmother had even flown in from Seattle, despite her fear of flying. His cousins had driven through the night from Texas. Every single person he invited had made the effort to be here. And my family, they were jet skiing in Maui. The wedding coordinator knocked softly. "Mildred, it's almost time. Should I tell the ushers to start seating your family?" "There is no family to seat," I heard myself say. "My side will be empty." She paused, professionalism warring with human sympathy. "I see. Would you like us to rearrange the seating?" "No." I stood up, smoothing my dress. "Let everyone see exactly who showed up and who didn't." My phone continued buzzing with notifications. I glanced one last time before turning it to silent. A Facebook post from my Aunt Sharon. "Living my best life with the best family. Some things are more important than watching people make mistakes." The comments were already pouring in from distant relatives and family friends, asking if this meant they were missing my wedding. The replies from various family members were a masterclass in gaslighting. Mildred chose to have a small ceremony. She said she didn't want a fuss. You know how she is about being the center of attention. Tyler had even posted, "My sister insisted on scheduling her wedding during our annual family reunion. Can't be in two places at once, but we're celebrating her from paradise." Annual family reunion. We had never had one before. This was a gathering created specifically to avoid my wedding, funded by my own inheritance and disguised as a tradition that didn't exist. I looked at Patricia, then at my reflection in the mirror. The dress Grandma Rose had helped me choose before she died. The pearl necklace she had worn at her own wedding. The shoes we had picked out together during one of her good days before the cancer took her. "She knew," I whispered. "Grandma knew they would do something like this." Patricia tilted her head. "What do you mean?" "The will. She left everything to me and only me. She even put in a clause that if I died before 30, the money would go to charity, not family. She used to say," I paused, remembering her words. "She used to say that money shows you who people really are, that it doesn't change them, just reveals them." Another notification. Emma had posted a video of Mom and Dad dancing on the yacht deck. Mom wore a white sundress. White. To her daughter's wedding week. The caption read, "Parents who know how to live, teaching us that happiness comes from following your heart." Following your heart. To Maui, on my wedding day. "Mildred," Patricia said gently, "what do you want to do?" I thought about James waiting at the altar, about his family filling the church, about the vows we had written, the life we planned to build. Then I thought about my family choosing luxury over love, vacation over vows, money over me. "I want to get married," I said firmly. "I want to walk down that aisle and marry the man who loves me, surrounded by the people who actually want to be there." "But who will walk you down the aisle?" I smiled for the first time since seeing those photos. "Would you ask your mother if she'd do me the honor? A real mother, not just someone who gave birth to me." Patricia's eyes filled with tears. "She would love that." As I prepared to leave the suite, one final text came through. From Dad. "Hope your day is special, sweetheart. Sometimes life takes us in different directions, you understand." I did understand. More than he realized. They had shown me exactly who they were, and I would never forget it. But first I had a wedding to attend. My wedding, with or without them. Turning my phone completely off, I tucked it into Patricia's purse. Whatever else they had to say could wait. Right now, I had a man who loved me waiting at an altar, and a new family ready to welcome me with open arms. The church bells began to ring, calling guests to witness two becoming one. Soon I would be Mildred Mitchell, and maybe that was exactly who I was meant to be all along. Grace Mitchell found me outside the bridal suite, her elegant navy dress complementing the silver threads in her perfectly styled hair. James's mother had the kind of presence that commanded respect without demanding it, a warmth that drew people in while maintaining dignity. She took one look at my face and opened her arms. "Patricia told me," she said simply. "Oh, sweetheart." I fell into her embrace, careful not to smudge my makeup on her dress. She smelled like vanilla and expensive perfume, the same scent she'd worn to every family dinner where she'd insisted I call her something other than Mrs. Mitchell. I'd always hesitated, some part of me loyal to the woman who'd birthed me, but never really seen me. "They're in Maui," I said into her shoulder. "All of them. They planned it for months." Grace pulled back, holding me at arm's length. Her hazel eyes, so like James's, blazed with protective anger. "Then they're fools, but their foolishness doesn't diminish your worth, not one bit." "Mom asked me to ask you something," Patricia said, hovering nearby with tissues. "Mildred would like you to walk her down the aisle." The transformation in Grace's expression was immediate. Tears welled up as she pressed a hand to her chest. "Oh, my dear girl, I would be honored. Truly, deeply honored." We made our way to the church's entrance, where the wedding party had assembled. James's groomsmen straightened when they saw us, their faces carefully neutral. They knew. Patricia had probably told them. These men who had become like brothers to me over the years, who had welcomed me into their fantasy football leagues and barbecue competitions without question. "Looking beautiful, Mildred," said Marcus James's best man and law school roommate, ready to officially join the chaos. "Never been more ready," I replied, meaning it. The church doors opened slightly, and I caught a glimpse of the interior. White roses and baby's breath adorned every pew, just as I'd dreamed. Candles flickered on the altar. The string quartet played softly. Everything was perfect, except for the glaring absence on the left side of the church. Row after row of empty pews where my family should have been sitting. My phone tucked in Patricia's purse had been buzzing nonstop. She glanced at it and winced. "Your cousin Maria just posted a photo of them with dolphins. The caption says, 'Making memories with the family that matters.'" "Let me see," I said, some masochistic part of me needing to witness their betrayal in real time. The photo showed my entire family in matching turquoise shirts that read, "Thompson Family Unity 2019" on the front. On the back, visible on Uncle Frank as he turned to pet a dolphin, "Blood makes us related, loyalty makes us family." Loyalty. They had those shirts made, probably ordered them weeks ago, paid extra for rush delivery, all while lying to my face about attending my wedding. "That's enough," Grace said firmly, taking the phone and powering it off completely. "They've made their choice. Now you make yours. Do you want to give them the power to ruin this day, or do you want to marry my son and be happy?" She was right. I smoothed my dress, adjusted my veil, and nodded to the coordinator. The music changed, signaling the processional's beginning. Patricia walked first, then the other bridesmaids. I watched them move down the aisle with practiced grace, James's sister and female cousins, who had embraced me without reservation. Through the gap in the doors, I could see James at the altar. He stood tall in his charcoal gray suit, hands clasped in front of him, that slightly nervous smile playing at his lips that I'd fallen in love with 3 years ago. Marcus leaned over and whispered something that made him laugh, easing the tension in his shoulders. "Last chance to run," Grace joked, though her arm linked through mine was steady and sure. "Though I should warn you, I've been practicing my tackle for football season with the grandkids. No running, I promised. Your son is the best thing that ever happened to me." The wedding march began. The doors swung wide. 300 faces turned to look at us, and the whispers started immediately. I held my head high, focusing on James's face as understanding dawned in his expression. His eyes tracked the empty pews, then found mine. He mouthed, "I love you." We began our walk. Each step felt like a declaration. Yes, my family had abandoned me. Yes, they were currently swimming with dolphins and drinking Mai Tais instead of watching me marry the love of my life. But I was still here, still moving forward, still choosing joy despite their cruelty. Halfway down the aisle, my phone must have connected to the church's Wi-Fi because Patricia's purse lit up with notifications. She discreetly tried to silence it, but not before I caught a glimpse of the latest update. Tyler had posted a video on Instagram. Even without sound, I could see him on the yacht's deck giving a speech to the assembled family, raising a glass, everyone toasting. The caption, "To family, may we always choose happiness over obligation." Obligation. That's what I was to them. Not a daughter, sister, niece, or cousin. An obligation. James's uncle Robert, a psychiatrist who'd become something of a mentor to me, caught my eye from his pew. He'd once told me during a family dinner that the hardest truth to accept is when people show you who they really are. "Believe them the first time," he'd said. "Don't wait for the second or third." Grace felt me tense and squeezed my arm gently. "Eyes forward, sweetheart. Your future is waiting at that altar, not on some yacht." She was right. James's face grew clearer with each step. Behind him, the stained glass windows cast rainbow light across the sanctuary. His family filled every pew on the right side, and now I noticed something beautiful happening. Quietly, without fanfare, people were moving. His aunts and uncles were crossing the aisle, filling the empty spaces on my side. His cousins followed, friends of the family. Even his 93-year-old grandmother was being helped across by her walker. By the time we reached the altar, both sides were balanced. I had family after all. They just weren't the ones who shared my DNA. Pastor Williams, who had counseled James and me through our engagement, smiled warmly. "Who gives this woman to be married?" Grace's voice rang clear and proud. "I do with the blessing of all who truly love her." It wasn't traditional. Nothing about this moment was. But it was real and honest and filled with more genuine love than any of those posed photos from Maui could capture. James stepped forward to take my hand. His palm was warm and steady against mine, grounding me in this moment. Whatever happened next, we would face it together. "You okay?" he whispered as Grace kissed my cheek and took her seat. "I am now," I whispered back. Pastor Williams began the ceremony. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the union of James and Mildred. Marriage is a commitment that requires not just the love of two people, but the support of a community. Today we see that community in action." As he spoke about love and commitment, my mind wandered to what was happening 2,500 miles away. Were they thinking of me at all? Had anyone suggested FaceTiming me during the ceremony? Or was I so thoroughly erased from this family unity week that my name had become forbidden? "The couple has written their own vows," Pastor Williams announced, pulling me back to the present. James pulled a folded paper from his pocket, his hands trembling slightly. "Mildred, when I met you 3 years ago, you were trying to parallel park outside the coffee shop and failing spectacularly." Soft laughter rippled through the congregation. I remembered that day. I'd been 20 minutes late meeting my family for lunch, frantically trying to squeeze into a spot too small for my car. James had knocked on my window and offered to park it for me. I'd been so flustered I'd said yes to a complete stranger. "You handed your keys to someone you'd never met because, as you said, anyone who offers to help a disaster in progress must be trustworthy. That trust, that openness to kindness, that's who you are. You see the best in people even when they don't deserve it. You give chances even when they've been squandered. Your heart is so big it amazes me every single day." My eyes burned with unshed tears. Behind James, the groomsmen were not so subtly wiping their own eyes. "I promise to be worthy of that trust every day of our lives," James continued. "I promise to be your family, your home, your safe place to land. I promise that you will never wonder where you stand with me or doubt that you are my priority. I promise to choose you today and every day in the big moments and the small ones. You are not just my wife-to-be. You are my person, my future, my everything. I love you, Mildred Ann Thompson, soon-to-be Mitchell, and I cannot wait to build our life together." Patricia handed me my own vows, but the words blurred on the page. I took a breath, then another. In the front row, Grace gave me an encouraging nod. "James," I began, my voice stronger than expected. "I wrote these vows a month ago, but I need to say something else first. Today has taught me that family isn't about blood or obligations or traditions. It's about showing up. It's about choosing love over convenience, presence over presence, and people over paradise." I saw understanding dawn on the faces of those who hadn't yet grasped the full situation. Whispers of sympathy and shock rippled through the pews. "You and your family have shown me what real love looks like." I continued, looking not just at James, but at Grace, at Patricia, at all the Mitchells who had crossed the aisle for me. "You've taught me that family is built on foundation of respect, kindness, and actually being there when it matters. So my vow to you is this: I promise to be the family to you that you've been to me. I promise to show up to choose you to prioritize us. I promise to build traditions with you that are based on love, not manipulation. I promise to create a home where everyone is welcome, but no one is obligated. Most of all, I promise to love you with the kind of love your family has shown me, because now I finally know what that really looks like." "The rings," Pastor Williams said softly, clearly moved. Marcus stepped forward with the rings, while Patricia took my bouquet. As James slipped the band onto my finger, another notification lit up Patricia's purse. She quickly muffled it, but not before I saw the preview. Mom had posted a photo with the caption, "Sometimes the best gift you can give someone is the freedom to make their own mistakes. We love you from afar, baby girl." Baby girl. She hadn't called me that in years. Using it now publicly while skipping my wedding for a yacht trip felt like another twist of the knife. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," Pastor Williams declared. "James, you may kiss your bride." As James's lips met mine, the church erupted in applause. But I barely heard it over the sound of my own heartbeat, my own joy, my own choice to be happy despite everything. When we turned to face the congregation as Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell, I saw nothing but genuine smiles and tears of joy. "Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. and Mrs. James Mitchell." We practically floated down the aisle hand in hand, passing faces full of love and support. James's family had given me something my own never had, the certainty that I was wanted, valued, and chosen. As we reached the church doors heading for the reception, I made a mental note to check that emergency fund account. Something about the yacht named Inheritance Dreams and those custom shirts and first-class tickets for 23 people didn't add up. My family was comfortable but not yacht charter wealthy. But that was a problem for tomorrow. Today, I was married to the love of my life, surrounded by people who actually wanted to celebrate with us. Let them have their dolphins and Mai Tais. I had something worth so much more: a real family, a true partner, and a future built on honest love instead of inherited lies. The Riverside Country Club had been transformed into a wonderland of soft lights and white roses. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing shadows across the dance floor, where James and I had just finished our first dance to At Last by Etta James. His family had filled the floor for the parent dances with Grace, and James swaying to Simple Man, while his father Robert waited for his turn to dance with me to Isn't She Lovely? I was laughing at something James's cousin had said about his teenage dance moves when my phone, which Patricia had finally returned to me, buzzed with an incoming message. The notification showed it was from the Thompson family group chat, the one I thought I'd been removed from months ago when they'd been planning their secret reunion. "Don't look at it," James advised, his hand covering mine. "Not tonight." But Uncle Frank's message preview was already visible. Oops, meant to send to the other chat. Against my better judgment, I opened it. The attached photo showed the entire family gathered in the yacht's main salon, champagne glasses raised. But this time I could see Mom's phone screen in the foreground. She had been typing a message: "Phase 1 complete. M's wedding is over. Can finally stop pretending we care. Tomorrow we execute Phase 2. Phase 2. My blood ran cold. I screenshotted everything immediately before the message could be deleted. Sure enough, 30 seconds later, Uncle Frank tried to recall it. Too late. "Mildred!" James noticed my expression. "What is it?" Before I could answer, another message popped up, this time from my brother Tyler, in what he clearly thought was the other chat, but was actually still the main family thread. "Dad, did you transfer the rest?" Before she could notice, "We need yacht payment by midnight." Then Emma, "Got my part out yesterday. 31,000 transferred to the Unity account. Thank God Mildred gave Dad that access." My hands shook as the pieces clicked into place. The emergency fund, Dad's fake surgery, the yacht named Inheritance Dreams. They hadn't just skipped my wedding for a vacation. They had used my inheritance to pay for it. "James," I whispered, showing him the messages. "I need to check my accounts, now." Grace appeared at my elbow, her mother's intuition sensing distress. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" I showed her the screenshots. Her expression went from concern to fury in seconds. "Robert," she called to her husband. "Get your brother over here, the attorney, now." Within minutes, we had assembled in the club's private study. James's uncle Christopher, still in his tuxedo from the reception, pulled out his phone and laptop. "What exactly did your father have access to?" "Temporary authorized user status on my emergency fund," I explained, my voice hollow. "He was supposed to remove himself after his surgery in January, the surgery that apparently never happened." Christopher's fingers flew across the keyboard. "I need you to log in. Let's see what we're dealing with." The country club's Wi-Fi was slow, each second of loading feeling like an eternity. Finally, the account page loaded. Where there should have been $47,000, the balance read $16,000. $31,000, I said numbly. They took $31,000. "When?" Christopher asked, already taking screenshots. I clicked on the transaction history. The withdrawals started 3 months ago, small amounts at first. 500 here, 1,000 there. Then in the last 2 weeks, massive transfers. 12,000 on April 10th, 15,000 on April 13th, 4,000 on April 15th. "Look at the transfer descriptions," James pointed out. "Unity LLC. They created a company." Christopher was already pulling up business records on his phone. "Unity Family Ventures LLC registered in March. Your father is listed as the president, your mother as CFO. He looked up grimly. "And you're listed as the founding member. They used your social security number." "Identity theft," Grace said flatly. "Federal crime." "There's more," Christopher continued, scrolling through records. "They've been using this LLC to book everything. The yacht charter, first-class tickets for," he counted, 23 people resort packages at the Four Seasons Maui, all paid from an account funded by transfers from your inheritance. Patricia knocked and entered. Sorry to interrupt, but Mildred, your cousin Brad, just posted something you need to see. She handed me her phone. Brad's Instagram story showed a close-up of a receipt. When your rich cousin funds the whole family vacation. Thanks for the memories, Mildred. He thanked me, I said in disbelief. He thanked me for funding a vacation I wasn't invited to, using money they stole. Christopher was documenting everything. This is evidence. They're admitting to the crime publicly. He looked at me seriously. Mildred, we need to act fast. That yacht charter alone was $12,000. If they're expecting another payment by midnight— Revoke access, Grace commanded. Everything, now. My fingers trembled as I navigated to the security settings. Dad's authorized user status revoked. Password changed. Security questions updated. Two-factor authentication enabled. Now the credit cards, Christopher advised. Any cards linked to that account need to be canceled immediately. As I called the bank's fraud department, my phone exploded with notifications. The other family chat, the one they thought I couldn't see, was in chaos. Mom. Why was Frank's card declined at dinner? Dad, the resort says our booking was canceled. Emma, my card isn't working either. The spa won't take it. Tyler, the yacht company is calling about payment. What's happening? Then from Uncle Frank, has anyone heard from Mildred? I put the bank on speaker so everyone could hear. Yes, I need to report fraudulent charges and cancel all cards associated with account ending in 8579. Multiple unauthorized withdrawals totaling $31,000. The representative was efficient. I see recent large transfers to Unity Family Ventures, LLC. Are these fraudulent? Yes, I did not authorize any transfers to that company. I've frozen all associated accounts and cards. Would you like to file a formal fraud complaint? Grace nodded emphatically. Christopher mouthed, yes. Yes, please. And I need a complete transaction history for the past 6 months sent to my attorney. As I provided Christopher's information, James held my other hand tightly. In the background, the reception continued. Our friends and his family danced and celebrated, unaware of the drama unfolding in this small study. Another notification. The yacht company had sent an email to the Unity LLC address, which forwarded to my email. Payment for remaining charter balance of $8,000 was declined. Please provide alternative payment within 2 hours, or your charter will be terminated and you will be required to return to harbor immediately. They're stranded on a yacht they can't pay for, Robert observed. Rather poetic justice. But I wasn't finding any humor in it. $31,000. Money my grandmother had saved her entire life. Money meant for my future home with James. Money that was supposed to be the foundation of our life together. The resort just sent a notice too, Christopher said, checking the Unity LLC email account they'd foolishly linked to my information. All bookings have been canceled due to payment failure. They have 1 hour to provide alternative payment or vacate the premises. My phone rang. Dad. I declined it. It rang again. Mom. Declined. Then Emma, Tyler, Uncle Frank, Aunt Sharon. A cascade of calls as reality hit them 2,500 miles from home. Let me see those original screenshots again, Christopher said. The ones about Phase 2. I showed him. He studied them carefully. They were planning something else after the wedding. What could Phase 2 be? A text from Emma cut through the chaos. Mildred, this is cruel. We're stranded. Mom is having a panic attack. How could you do this to your family? How could I said out loud. How could I? Grace took my phone, typed quickly, and hit send before I could stop her. How could you steal $31,000 and skip your sister's wedding, direct all further communication through attorney Christopher Mitchell? She included his business card. The responses were immediate and explosive. Dad tried calling Christopher directly. Mom sent a long text about how this was all a misunderstanding. Tyler threatened legal action for harassment. Emma claimed she didn't know the money was mine. Bull, Patricia said, reading over our shoulders. She literally texted about transferring money from Mildred's account. Christopher was pulling up more records. Oh, this is interesting. The Unity LLC has been active for months. Small purchases at first testing the waters. Expensive dinners, shopping sprees, a down payment on— He paused. A boat. Your father put a down payment on a personal watercraft 3 weeks ago. He bought a boat with my inheritance. Tried to. Looks like the financing fell through when they couldn't verify income for the LLC, but the down payment of $5,000 is non-refundable. James's best man knocked and entered. Hey, sorry to interrupt, but people are asking where the bride and groom are. Should we start the speeches? I stood up, smoothing my dress. Give us 5 minutes. I looked around the room at my real family. I'm not letting them ruin anything else tonight. Christopher, can you handle the immediate legal needs? Already on it. I'll file emergency injunctions tonight and have federal identity theft charges ready by morning. Grace Robert, would you mind keeping an eye on any new developments? Of course, sweetheart, Grace said. Go enjoy your reception. We'll handle this. As James and I prepared to return to our celebration, one final message came through. From my father, "You've destroyed our family. Hope your marriage is worth it." I looked at James, at his parents, at the attorney already building my case. "It is," I said firmly. "It absolutely is." The reception continued around us in full swing. James's brother Michael had just finished a hilarious best man speech about their childhood escapades when Grace discreetly motioned us back to the study. Her expression told me everything I needed to know more had been discovered, and it wasn't good. Christopher had set up a makeshift command center on the antique desk. Multiple laptops displayed bank records, business filings, and legal documents. Robert sat beside him, having changed into his reading glasses, poring over financial statements. James's cousin David, who worked in forensic accounting, had been pulled from the dance floor to help. "We need to show you what David found," Christopher said without preamble. "The theft goes deeper than we initially thought." David turned his laptop toward us. "The Unity Family Ventures LLC wasn't just created for this trip. It's been systematically draining money for months. But here's the sophisticated part. They layered it through multiple transactions to make it harder to trace." He pulled up a spreadsheet that made my head spin. They started small in January. Restaurant charges that looked like medical expenses. Hotel stays disguised as treatment centers. Your dad was smart. He created a paper trail that would support his surgery story if anyone looked casually. "But you looked deeper," James said. "I did. And I found this." David clicked to another screen. "Every single medical charge corresponds to a family gathering. That $800 consultation fee on January 15th matches up with your cousin Brad's birthday party at the steakhouse. The $3,000 treatment facility charge. That's the weekend your parents went to wine country with your aunts and uncles." My legs felt weak. James guided me to a chair while David continued exposing the deception. "They've been using your inheritance as their personal slush fund since the day your dad got access. The Maui trip. That was just their grand finale. They'd already blown through $15,000 on dinners, entertainment, and luxury purchases." "Show her the boat," Christopher said grimly. David pulled up a purchase agreement. "Your father didn't just put a down payment on a boat. He bought a 40-foot Sea Ray yacht for $92,000, using the LLC as the purchaser. The down payment came from your account, and he fraudulently listed the LLC's assets as $2 million to secure financing." $2 million, I gasped. He claimed the LLC owned various properties and investments, all fabricated. The loan documents were filed 3 days ago. If the deal had gone through, you could have been on the hook for massive fraud charges since your Social Security number is all over the incorporation documents. Grace handed me a glass of water. "Drink this. You're pale as a sheet." "There's more," Robert said gently. "We found communications between your parents and a financial advisor. They were planning to liquidate your entire inheritance by claiming it was LLC operating capital. Phase 2 wasn't just about the boat. They were setting up investment accounts, retirement funds, even education savings for your cousin's children, all using your money and your identity." My phone buzzed with an incoming FaceTime from Emma. Against my better judgment, I answered. Her face filled the screen, mascara streaking down her cheeks. Behind her, chaos reigned in what looked like a hotel lobby. Other family members argued with staff while security guards stood nearby. "Mildred," she cried, "you have to fix this. They're kicking us out." Mom fainted. Dad's having chest pains. "Real chest pains or fake surgery chest pains?" I asked coldly. She had the grace to look ashamed. "Millie, I'm sorry. I didn't know." "Don't," I cut her off. "You texted about transferring $31,000 from my account. You knew exactly where the money came from." "I thought you knew Mom said you approved it. She said you wanted us to have a family celebration since you were too busy with wedding planning to join us." "On my wedding day." Emma's eyes darted away. "She said you insisted we go, that you didn't want us making your day about the whole family." Behind her, I could see Mom sitting on a lobby couch, fanning herself dramatically, while Aunt Sharon held her hand. Dad paced nearby, gesticulating wildly as he yelled into his phone. The resort manager stood firm, flanked by security. Emma, did you really believe I would send my entire family on a luxury vacation to avoid them attending my wedding? Her silence was answer enough. Let me talk to her. Tyler's face suddenly appeared, shoving Emma aside. Listen, sis, you've made your point. Very funny. Now unfreeze the accounts so we can sort this out like adults. Like adults? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Adults don't steal $31,000. Adults don't commit identity theft. Adults show up for their sister's wedding. It's not theft when it's family money, he shouted. Grandma Rose left that money for all of us. You just manipulated her into cutting everyone else out. Is that what Mom and Dad told you? I asked. Because I have Grandma's letters. Would you like me to read the one where she explicitly states she's leaving the money to me because, and I quote, the vultures will circle the moment I'm gone? Christopher leaned into frame. Mr. Thompson, this is Christopher Mitchell, Mrs. Mitchell's attorney. I advise you to cease all contact with my client immediately. Any further communication should go through proper legal channels. Tyler's face went red. You got a lawyer at your wedding? No, I said clearly. I got a family at my wedding. They just happen to include several lawyers who actually care about my well-being. The FaceTime connection started breaking up as Tyler was pushed aside by other family members. In the chaos, I caught glimpses of the scene Brad arguing with his wife about maxed-out credit cards, Uncle Frank on the phone with what sounded like an airline trying to book emergency flights home, Aunt Sharon crying about her ruined vacation. Then Dad's face filled the screen. For the first time in my life, he looked old, defeated, but not remorseful. Mildred, baby girl, he started. Don't, I said firmly. Don't you dare call me that while standing in a hotel you paid for with stolen money. It's not stolen. I'm your father. I have a right. You have no rights to money Grandma left specifically to me. Money you accessed through lies about fake surgery. His mask slipped completely. That money should have been mine. I'm the eldest son. Your grandmother poisoned you against your own family, filling your head with ideas about independence and all that feminist garbage. A good daughter would share her fortune with family. $47,000 isn't a fortune, Dad. It was a house down payment, a future, and you spent it on yacht parties and first-class flights. We deserve nice things, too, Mom's voice screeched from off-screen. Do you know how it feels watching your daughter flaunt her inheritance while we struggle? Struggle? I asked incredulously. You both have six-figure jobs. You have 2 homes. You just bought a boat. David muttered beside me. The loan was rejected an hour ago when the bank couldn't verify the LLC's assets. The call abruptly ended as the resort Wi-Fi cut off. Within seconds, text messages flooded in from various family members, each more desperate and accusatory than the last. Christopher screenshotted everything for evidence, while Grace rubbed my shoulders supportively. I need some air, I said, standing shakily. James immediately rose with me. Let's take a walk in the garden. Mom, can you? We'll handle everything, Grace assured him. Go. This is still your wedding day. We slipped out through the French doors into the country club's rose garden. The April evening was perfect stars just beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Music and laughter drifted from the reception hall, where our real guests celebrated blissfully unaware of the family drama unfolding. $47,000, I said quietly, leaning against James. Gone. Just like that. Not gone, he corrected. Stolen. And we'll get it back. Christopher's already filing charges, and with all the evidence they've stupidly posted online, it's a solid case. It's not even about the money anymore, I admitted. It's the planning, the premeditation. They smiled at me for months while plotting to rob me. Dad hugged me at Christmas, knowing he was about to fake a medical emergency. Mom helped me pick out wedding flowers while booking flights to skip the ceremony. They showed you who they are, James said. As painful as it is, at least now you know. A text from Patricia interrupted. Hey, just wanted you to know Marcus is stalling the reception timeline, but people are asking about parent speeches. What do you want to do? Parent speeches. Another tradition I'd lost to greed and betrayal. Your mom could speak, I suggested to James. He squeezed my hand. She'd be honored. But are you sure you're ready to go back in? I looked through the garden windows at the warm light of our reception. His family mingled with our friends, protecting our celebration from the ugliness my blood relatives had created. They'd literally crossed the aisle for me today, filling the empty spaces left by those who should have been there. Actually, I said, struck by sudden inspiration, I want to give a speech. Not a traditional bride speech, but something that needs to be said. James studied my face. You're sure? Positive. They stole my money, but they're not stealing my voice. or my joy. Not today. We walked back into the reception hand in hand. The band quieted as James led me to the microphone. 300 faces turned toward us, warm and expectant. In the back, I spotted Grace conferring with Christopher, both keeping watchful eyes on their phones in case more emergencies arose. "Good evening, everyone," I began, my voice steadier than expected. "I know this is unusual, but today has been unusual in many ways. Most of you have noticed that my side of the church was rather empty during the ceremony." Sympathetic murmurs rippled through the crowd. My biological family chose to spend this day on a yacht in Maui. A yacht they paid for, I discovered an hour ago, with money they stole from my inheritance. Gasps of shock and outrage filled the room. James's grandmother clutched her pearls while his aunts exchanged horrified looks. But here's what I want to say. I continued feeling strength flow through me. Their absence revealed the truth about family. Family isn't about DNA or obligation. It's about choice. It's about showing up. It's about the people who cross the aisle to fill empty pews, who become your mother when yours fails you, who protect your joy even when chaos tries to crash it. I looked directly at Grace, at Robert, at all the Mitchells who had embraced me. So while my biological family celebrates their theft on a yacht they can no longer afford, I'm here celebrating with my real family. The ones who chose me, the ones who showed up, the ones who prove every single day that love isn't about blood, it's about behavior. The room erupted in applause. Grace wiped tears from her eyes while Robert raised his champagne glass in salute. Even Christopher paused his legal work to smile. To the Mitchell family, I raised my own glass, who taught me that sometimes you have to lose the family you were born with to find the family you were meant to have. Thank you for choosing me. I choose you right back. To family, the room chorused, and in that moment, surrounded by genuine love and support, the sting of my biological family's betrayal began to fade. My phone buzzed with another message from the Maui chaos. I handed it to Grace without looking. "Handle whatever that is," I said. "I have a reception to enjoy." She smiled, tucking the phone away. "Go dance with your husband. We've got the rest." As James led me onto the dance floor, I realized the truth. They could take my money, but they couldn't take this joy, this love, this real family that had caught me when the one I was born into let me fall. Grandma Rose had been right about one last thing. In her final letter, she'd written, "Sometimes the best gift a toxic family can give you is their absence. It makes room for the people who deserve to be there." Looking around the room at the Mitchells, at our friends, at everyone who had chosen to be here, I finally understood what she meant. The honeymoon suite at the Riverside Country Club had been Grace's gift, insisting we shouldn't drive home after such an emotional day. It was past midnight, but adrenaline still coursed through my veins as I sat cross-legged on the king-sized bed, still wearing my reception dress laptop open in front of me. James had run down to get us food from the kitchen, knowing I'd barely eaten all day. "First things first," I muttered, logging into every financial account I owned. The main inheritance account showed the devastating balance, but I had others to protect. Checking account password changed. Savings account password changed. Credit cards fraud alerts activated. Investment portfolio from my first job locked down tight. My phone screen lit up with incoming messages. The Maui contingent had apparently found Wi-Fi somewhere. I ignored them all except one from my cousin Maria, the only family member who hadn't gone on the trip. She'd been in nursing school, claiming she couldn't miss finals. Now I wondered if she'd known what they were planning. Maria. "Mildred, I'm so sorry. I just saw everything online. I swear I didn't know about the money. They told me you blessed the trip. Please believe me." I set the phone aside without responding. Trust was a luxury I couldn't afford right now. James returned with a tray of sandwiches and champagne. Kitchen staff sends their congratulations and condolences. Apparently the whole story spread through the service industry network. The catering manager said if you need witnesses about your family's behavior, she has 3 servers who overheard them planning this months ago at your engagement party. They discussed stealing from me at my engagement party. In the parking lot, apparently. The servers were on smoke break. He handed me a sandwich. "Eat. You need strength for what comes next." As I took a bite, my laptop dinged with an email from Christopher. The subject line read, "Immediate actions taken. Please review." I opened it to find a comprehensive list of legal moves he'd already initiated. Cease and desist letters sent to all family members. Emergency injunction filed against Unity Family Ventures, LLC. Federal identity theft complaint submitted. Fraud alerts placed with all 3 credit bureaus. Financial forensics firm retained for full audit. Grace doesn't mess around, I said, showing James the email. Mom's protective mode is something to behold. You should have seen her when my ex tried to contest our breakup agreement. The woman had her served at her own birthday party. Another email arrived, this time from the Four Seasons Maui. Christopher had copied me on his response to their legal department. My blood ran cold as I read their initial message. The resort was threatening to pursue criminal charges against me as the registered owner of Unity Family Ventures, LLC, for the bounced payments. Christopher's response was swift and thorough, including documentation proving identity theft and fraud. But the damage to my reputation was already beginning. My name was now associated with financial crimes I didn't commit. That's what they wanted, I realized. Phase 2 wasn't just about taking more money, it was about making me look like the criminal if I fought back. My phone rang, an unknown Hawaiian number. Against my better judgment, I answered on speaker. "Miss Thompson?" a professional voice asked. "This is Harbor Master Williams with the Maui Yacht Authority. We have 23 individuals aboard the vessel Inheritance Dreams who are refusing to return to port despite non-payment. Since you're listed as the LLC owner, we need your authorization to have them forcibly removed." "I'm a victim of identity theft," I explained. "My attorney, Christopher Mitchell, has documentation. But yes, you have my complete authorization to remove them by whatever means necessary." "Understood, ma'am. Law enforcement has been notified. Also, the charter company wants to know if you'll be pressing charges for theft of services." I looked at James. He nodded firmly. "Yes," I said. "I'll be pressing every charge possible." After I hung up, we sat in silence for a moment. Then James pulled me close. "I'm proud of you. It would be easier to just let it go, pay their way home, keep the peace. There is no peace with people who would do this. There never was. I just couldn't see it before." My laptop chimed again. David had sent his preliminary forensic analysis. The theft was even worse than we'd uncovered at the reception. They'd been siphoning money in small increments for 6 months, disguising it as various medical and emergency expenses. Total stolen $42,000, not $31,000. "They left me $5,000 out of $47," I said numbly. Just enough so I wouldn't immediately notice the account was drained. "Look at this pattern," James pointed to David's chart. "Every withdrawal corresponds to a family event you weren't invited to. They were literally using your money to fund gatherings that excluded you." The cruelty of it took my breath away. Super Bowl party, $3,000. Valentine's dinner, $1,800. Easter weekend at a resort, $4,000. Each celebration funded by my inheritance, while they made excuses for why I couldn't attend. I was always working those weekends, I remembered. They'd say the gatherings were last minute, that they didn't want to interfere with my busy schedule. "They planned it all," James said, "keeping you away so you wouldn't see how they were spending your money." My phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. "Hope you're happy. Mom's in the hospital with a panic attack. Dad's been detained by Harbor Police. We're being treated like criminals thanks to you." I typed back, "You are criminals." Then I blocked his number. And Mom's. And Dad's. One by one, I severed digital ties with people who had severed familial ones long ago. 3 a.m. brought a new development. The yacht situation had escalated. Emma sent a video before I could block her, too. Harbor Police were boarding the vessel while my family protested loudly. Dad tried to claim diplomatic immunity of all things. Mom screamed about her rights. Uncle Frank attempted to barricade himself in the bathroom. 23 grown adults acting like toddlers, James observed. Though I guess toddlers have more integrity. The video cut to black as someone, probably law enforcement, told Emma to stop recording. Within minutes, local Hawaiian news had picked up the story. "Wedding day, fraud leads to yacht arrests," read the ticker at the bottom of the screen. They didn't name names yet, but it was only a matter of time. Grace knocked softly and entered, still in her mother-of-the-bride dress, but looking fresh as dawn. "Couldn't sleep either. I brought coffee and updates." She set down a tray and pulled out her tablet. "Christopher has been busy. The boat your father tried to buy the dealer is cooperating fully. Turns out your dad promised him a finder's fee for pushing through fraudulent financing. The dealer's singing like a canary to avoid charges." "How deep does this go?" I asked. "Deep enough? Your Uncle Frank is apparently on the hook for 3 credit cards he opened in your name last year. Your Aunt Sharon has been filing fake insurance claims using your information. It's a full family crime syndicate." I laughed bitterly. "And they say crime doesn't pay. They seem to be doing pretty well with it." "Until tonight," Grace corrected. "Tonight, you fought back. And that terrifies them more than any police arrest. You were supposed to be their perpetual victim, their walking ATM. The fact that you have teeth, that's what's really sending them into panic. Another video arrived, this one from local news. The reporter stood outside the Maui police station as members of my family were led inside in handcuffs. What began as a luxury family vacation has ended in multiple arrests tonight, she reported. Sources indicate this may be connected to an elaborate fraud scheme targeting an inheritance worth nearly $50,000. It's really happening, I said quietly. They're actually being arrested. Actions have consequences, Grace said firmly, even for family. Especially for family, because they're the ones who should protect you, not prey on you. My laptop dinged with an email from the bank's fraud department. They'd completed their initial investigation and agreed the charges were fraudulent. The process to recover the funds would take time, but they were confident about restoration plus damages. See, James said, the system works when you use it, when you fight back instead of keeping quiet to maintain fake peace. 4 a.m. brought the biggest shock. A call from Emma from what sounded like a holding cell. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mildred, she said, her voice small and scared. I know you hate me. I know I deserve it, but I need you to know something before they take my phone. What? I asked tiredly. Mom and Dad have been planning this for 2 years, since Grandma got sick. They have notebooks. Detailed plans about how to get your inheritance. There's more you don't know. Life insurance policies they took out in your name. Investment accounts they're hiding. This goes so much deeper than Maui. Why are you telling me this now? Because I'm scared, she admitted. And because I finally understand why Grandma left everything to you. You're the only one who isn't rotten. I wanted to be angry at you for that, but the truth is, she saw what we all are, what I let myself become. The line went dead. Grace immediately called Christopher to relay this information. As dawn broke through the suite windows, painting everything in soft gold light, I finally felt the exhaustion hit. James guided me to bed, helping me out of my dress and into pajamas. We'll deal with the rest tomorrow, he promised. Today, actually. Later today. Our first day as husband and wife, I said, and we're spending it fighting my criminal family. No, he corrected, pulling me close. We're spending it protecting our future, together, with my family, our family, backing us every step of the way. As I drifted off to sleep in my husband's arms, my phone continued buzzing with messages from Hawaii. But for the first time in my life, I felt truly protected. Not by blood relatives who saw me as a resource to exploit, but by chosen family who saw me as a person worth defending. The sun rose on my first day as Mildred Mitchell, and despite everything, or maybe because of it, I'd never felt more free. I woke at noon to find James already up sitting at the suite's desk with his laptop earbuds in, watching something intently. He noticed me stirring and pulled out the earbuds. "Morning, Mrs. Mitchell," he said with a smile that quickly faded. "So, your family made the national news." I sat up, instantly awake. National? He turned the laptop toward me. CNN's headline read, "Hawaiian Wedding Fraud, How One Family's Greed Led to Federal Charges." Below it, a video showed my family being escorted from the yacht. Mom had apparently fainted again, requiring paramedics. Dad shouted about constitutional rights, while Tyler tried to fight a police officer and got himself tackled. The footage was clear enough that anyone who knew them would recognize them instantly. "It gets worse," James said gently. "Someone leaked the family group chat screenshots to the media. The ones about Phase 2 and celebrating getting away from you." My phone had over 200 missed calls, 300 text messages, email notifications too numerous to count. As I scrolled through them, I noticed they weren't from family. These were from coworkers, college friends, distant relatives who hadn't been invited on the yacht, all expressing shock and support. Grace knocked and entered with a room service cart. "I ordered lunch. You need to eat." She set up the food while filling us in. "Christopher's been fielding media requests all morning. He's advising no comments until we understand the full scope. Also, the FBI wants to interview you." The FBI, I nearly choked on my coffee. "Wire fraud across state lines. Identity theft. Conspiracy. Your family graduated from state crimes to federal ones when they used online banking to steal from California while planning crimes in Hawaii." My phone rang. Christopher's name appeared on the screen. "Mildred, I have significant updates," he said without preamble. "First, your sister Emma made a deal. She's providing evidence in exchange for reduced charges. She's given authorities access to your parents' planning documents." Planning documents. 2 years' worth of notebooks, emails, and spreadsheets detailing exactly how they would systematically drain your inheritance. They called it Project Liberation because they were liberating money from your selfish hoarding. I put him on speaker so James and Grace could hear. What Emma revealed is disturbing, Christopher continued. They've been monitoring your finances for years. Your father installed tracking software on your devices during a visit. They know your spending patterns, your savings goals when you get paid. They've been playing a long game. There's more, he said. The life insurance policies Emma mentioned. They took out 3 separate policies on you, each worth $500,000. You're listed as the insured, but they're the beneficiaries. My blood ran cold. Are you saying— I'm not suggesting they planned anything violent, Christopher said carefully. But financial motivation for your early demise is concerning. I've notified law enforcement and they're taking it seriously. Grace gripped my hand. You're safe now. You're with us. The immediate crisis, Christopher continued, is that your family members are turning on each other spectacularly. Your parents are blaming the uncles and aunts. The aunts are blaming the cousins. Your cousin Brad just gave an interview to a local station claiming he was manipulated. Everyone's trying to minimize their own involvement. Let me guess, I said. They're all saying I'm the real villain. Actually, no. That's what's interesting. The evidence is so overwhelming that they're turning on each other instead. Your Aunt Sharon told police that your father masterminded everything. Your father says your mother was the ringleader. Your mother is claiming mental illness. A text came through from Maria, the cousin who hadn't gone to Maui. Local news just interviewed me. I told them everything about how they've treated you for years. The birthday parties you weren't told about. The family reunions that were accidentally scheduled during your work trips. All of it. People deserve to know the truth. For the first time since this began, I felt a tiny crack in my anger. At least one family member was standing up for what was right. There's a complication, Christopher said. Several of your relatives are posting on social media trying to control the narrative. We need to consider a strategic response. I opened Facebook to find chaos. Uncle Frank had posted a lengthy screed about how I was a spoiled princess who couldn't share. The comments underneath were brutal, calling him out for vacationing on stolen money. Aunt Sharon tried the sympathy route, posting photos of herself crying with captions about family betrayal. The ratio of angry reactions to sympathetic ones was satisfying. But the worst was Mom's post. A mother's heart breaks when her daughter chooses money over family. Despite everything. I love you, Mildred. When you're ready to apologize, we'll be waiting. Apologize? I said incredulously. She wants me to apologize? James took my phone. Nope, not engaging. Christopher, can we get these posts preserved for evidence before they delete them? Already screenshot and archived, Christopher assured us. Their social media meltdowns are gifts to our case. The hotel room phone rang. James answered, listened, then covered the mouthpiece. NBC wants to know if you'll do an interview. No, Grace and Christopher said in unison. Agreed, Christopher added. Let them hang themselves. You stay dignified and silent. By 3 p.m., the full scope of the family meltdown was visible. A Twitter thread by a Hawaiian local who witnessed the yacht arrests went viral. Thread y'all the family drama I just witnessed. These mainland folks really stole from their own daughter to pay for a yacht, got arrested, and blamed her for ruining their vacation. The entitlement is wild. The thread included videos. Dad trying to use his business card to avoid arrest. Mom screaming that she had a heart condition. Tyler attempting to jump off the yacht and swim to shore only to be fished out by Coast Guard. Uncle Frank offering to pay officers when his niece stops being petty. Emma sobbing and begging them to call me. It's like watching a car crash, James said. 23 car crashes happening simultaneously. Another call from Christopher. The yacht company is suing them for damages. Apparently your brother Tyler broke several fixtures during his arrest. Your Uncle Frank clogged a toilet trying to flush evidence. The damage assessment is over $20,000. Evidence of what? Casino chips. Turns out they spent your money gambling too. The casino wants their cut since the chips were purchased with stolen funds. Grace shook her head. Every time I think they can't sink lower, they find a new basement. My email chimed. The bank had completed their fraud investigation. Full restitution was approved, plus a substantial penalty payment. The money would be returned within 5 business days. Relief flooded through me. At least financially I could recover. But then another email arrived that made my stomach drop, from my employer's HR department. Mildred, we've been contacted by several news outlets about your situation. While we sympathize with your circumstances, the attention is becoming disruptive. Please contact us immediately to discuss." "They can't fire me over this," I said, panicking. Grace was already texting someone. "My friend runs HR for a Fortune 500 company. She'll advise us. But no, they can't fire you for being a crime victim." The afternoon brought more revelations. The FBI had seized my parents' computers and found years of financial manipulation. Not just against me, but elderly relatives, former business partners, even their church. The children's charity they ran a front for funneling donations into personal accounts. "Your family is a crime syndicate," Christopher said during his hourly update. "This is RICO territory now." RICO like the mob. Organized crime is organized crime, whether it's the mafia or the Thompson family. The pattern of behavior, the hierarchy, the systematic nature of the crimes, it all qualifies. By evening, the family fractures were complete. Brad's wife had filed for divorce, citing financial infidelity. Uncle Frank's business partners were distancing themselves. Aunt Sharon's book club expelled her. The social destruction was as complete as the legal one. But the most satisfying moment came when Forbes picked up the story. Their angle focused on financial abuse within families, using my story as a cautionary tale. The article included expert commentary about protecting inheritance from toxic relatives. Grandma Rose was quoted from her will, "I leave my entire estate to my granddaughter Mildred, as she is the only one I trust to use it wisely." She knew, I said again. She always knew what they were. As night fell, one final video surfaced. Security footage from the Maui police station showed my family in holding cells. Dad sat alone, head in his hands. Mom was curled on a bench, makeup destroyed. Tyler paced like a caged animal. The aunts and uncles huddled in separate corners, no longer speaking to each other. The family unity they'd celebrated on that yacht was gone, destroyed by their own greed and the consequences of their actions. They'd traded my wedding for a week in paradise and ended up in hell of their own making. "How do you feel?" James asked as we prepared for bed in our honeymoon suite. I considered the question. Angry, yes. Hurt, definitely. But also free. Completely, utterly free. "Like I finally understand what family really means," I said. "And it has nothing to do with sharing DNA." My phone buzzed one last time. Emma from a Hawaii holding cell. "The FBI just told me you took out the life insurance policies. I'm so sorry, Mildred. I'm so sorry. Please be careful." I showed it to James and Grace. Grace immediately called Christopher. As I fell asleep in my husband's arms, protected by my chosen family, I couldn't help but think about the yacht named Inheritance Dreams. They'd achieved their dream of accessing my inheritance. They just hadn't counted on the nightmare that would follow. Tuesday morning arrived with a call from Christopher at 7 a.m. They're being released on bail and scrambling to get home. Flights are booking up because they all have to travel separately due to restraining orders against each other. I wanted you prepared. By Wednesday evening, the first wave hit. Security cameras at our apartment building caught Dad arriving at 6:17 p.m., disheveled and wild-eyed. He pounded on our door while James and I watched from inside phones, ready to call police. "Mildred, open this door. I'm your father. We need to talk about what you've done." "What I've done?" I called back, making sure my phone was recording. "You stole $42,000 and committed identity theft." "It's not stealing when it's family money," he roared. "Your grandmother poisoned you against us. That money was meant for all of us." James stepped closer to the door. "Sir, you need to leave. There's a restraining order." "Don't you talk to me, boy!" Dad's voice cracked with rage. "You turned my daughter against her blood." "No," I said clearly. "You did that all by yourself when you chose a yacht over my wedding." The security footage captured what happened next beautifully. Dad lunged at our door, rattling the handle violently. James opened it just enough to step into the hallway, all 6 feet 2 inches of him, creating a barrier between Dad and me. "Leave," James said calmly. "Now." Dad looked up at my husband, seemed to calculate his chances, then stepped back. "This isn't over. You destroyed our family, 40 years of building our reputation gone because you're too selfish to share." "The FBI destroyed your reputation when they arrested you for fraud," I called out. "Actions meet consequences." He stomped away, but not before kicking our neighbor's potted plant. Mrs. Chen poked her head out. "Should I call the police, dear?" "Please," I said, "and thank you." An hour later, Mom arrived. Her approach was different, tears, manipulation, and guilt. She'd clearly gone home, first changed into her church clothes, and fixed her makeup to look maximally pitiful. "Sweetheart," she called through the door, Please, I'm your mother. Don't you remember when I used to sing you to sleep when I taught you to ride a bike? Doesn't any of that matter? Did it matter when you were on a yacht during my wedding? I responded. We thought we were protecting you. James isn't right for you, baby. We wanted to show you that you need your real family, not these strangers. Grace's voice came through my phone speaker. She'd been listening on FaceTime. Tell her the strangers showed up. That's the difference. Mom heard her. See? They're turning you against me. A daughter should cleave to her mother, not her mother-in-law. A mother should attend her daughter's wedding, Grace shot back. I don't have to explain myself to you. Mom shrieked, her composure cracking. Mildred, you open this door right now. I gave birth to you. I have rights. Your rights ended when you committed fraud. Christopher's voice joined the call. Mrs. Thompson, this interaction is being recorded. You're in violation of a restraining order. Leave immediately or face additional charges. Mom's mask slipped completely. You little brat. After everything we've done for you, the sacrifices we made, and this is how you repay us, by humiliating us, by destroying our lives. You destroyed your own lives when you stole from me, I said evenly. She pounded on the door. That money should have been ours. We're the ones who took care of Mother for years. We're the ones who paid for her care. Grandma had insurance, I reminded her, and her own savings. You didn't pay for anything. You just visited once a month to ask when you'd get your inheritance. Lies, Mom screamed. You turned her against us. You always were her favorite, Miss Perfect with your college degree and your fancy job. Mrs. Chen had apparently called building security. 2 guards appeared in the hallway. Ma'am, you need to leave. Mom tried the dramatic feint she'd perfected in Maui. Unfortunately for her, security wasn't buying it. They simply stepped around her and called for police backup. Fine, she scrambled to her feet. But don't come crying to me when that man shows his true colors. When you're alone and desperate, remember you chose this. Thursday brought the extended family. They arrived in shifts, each trying different tactics. Uncle Frank attempted bribery, sliding an envelope under our door. $10,000 cash, he called out. All yours if you drop the charges. That's fair, right? You get some money, we all move on. The FBI will love hearing about this bribe attempt, James called back. The envelope was hastily retrieved. Aunt Sharon tried emotional manipulation. Mildred, honey, remember when you stayed with us that summer? I treated you like my own daughter. Doesn't that count for something? You charged my parents $500 a week for my room and board, I reminded her, and made me do all your housework. That was teaching you responsibility. By Friday, desperation had set in. Tyler showed up drunk at 2 a.m. singing wedding songs off-key and crying about being the worst brother in the world. Building security removed him while he wailed about losing his way. But Saturday brought the most stunning visit. Emma arrived at noon and she looked terrible. Her usually perfect hair hung limp, her designer clothes replaced with a simple t-shirt and jeans. She spoke to the security camera. Mildred, I know you don't want to see me. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I have information you need about the life insurance policies. Please, 5 minutes. James can stay. Bring whoever you want, but please. I looked at James. He looked at Grace, who had come over for moral support. Christopher was on speakerphone. Could be a trap, Christopher warned. Could be, I agreed. But the FBI confirmed those policies exist. If she knows something. We met in the building security office, cameras rolling, guards present. Emma looked even worse up close. Her hands shook as she pulled out a folder. Mom and Dad took out the first policy 2 years ago. She began without preamble. Right after Grandma got sick. But there are 3 more you don't know about. Different companies, different beneficiaries. She spread out documents. They've been paying premiums with money they borrowed against the house. If anything happens to you, they get $2 million total. You're saying they wanted me dead. The words felt surreal. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I don't know. I hope not. But Dad said, he said at the yacht that it would solve everything if you just disappeared. Mom told him to shut up, but she didn't disagree. My blood ran cold. James's arm tightened around me. There's more, Emma continued. The boat Dad tried to buy. He already had a buyer lined up to flip it for profit. The casino chips they bought, part of a money laundering scheme with some guys he knows. Your inheritance wasn't just stolen, it was already allocated to other crimes. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because I finally woke up, she said simply. When I was sitting in that cell listening to Mom and Dad blame everyone but themselves, watching our aunts and uncles turn on each other like animals, I realized what we'd become, what I'd become. She pulled out another paper. This is my confession. Everything I did, every lie I told, every dollar I helped steal. I'm giving it to the FBI on Monday." "This could mean serious jail time," Christopher noted. "I know," Emma said quietly. "But maybe that's what I need. A chance to start over. To become someone who wouldn't steal from her sister to pay for a vacation." She stood to leave, then paused. "That day at your engagement party when you were showing us your ring, you were so happy, and all I felt was rage that Grandma had left you money and not me. That's when I knew I'd help them take it. I'm so sorry, Millie, not for getting caught, for becoming someone who could do this to you." After she left, we sat in stunned silence. Even Grace, usually quick with wisdom, seemed at a loss. $2 million in life insurance, James finally said. "That changes things." Christopher agreed. "I'm upgrading security recommendations, and we need to fast-track those restraining orders into permanent protection orders." By Sunday, the full family meltdown was complete. Local news ran a segment, "Wedding Fraud Family Turns on Each Other." It featured interviews with neighbors describing the chaos. Brad's soon-to-be ex-wife gave a tell-all about their finances. A former employee of Dad's business revealed years of shady dealings. But the pinnacle came Sunday evening. Channel 4's investigative team had done a deep dive. The Thompson family fraud, a history of greed, exposed 3 generations of financial crimes. Turns out my great-grandfather had run similar schemes. My grandfather had been arrested for embezzlement in the 80s. The pattern of entitlement and theft went back decades. "It's generational," Grace observed. "Learned behavior passed down like a toxic heirloom." My phone buzzed. A text from Maria, the cousin who'd skipped Maui. "Saw the news special. I'm getting therapy to make sure I don't end up like them. Thought you should know Grandma left me a letter too." It said, "Don't follow your family's path. Watch how they treat Mildred and choose differently." I'm trying to choose differently. One family member at least might break the cycle. As the week ended, my biological family had scattered to the winds. Dad was staying with a business associate who hadn't yet heard about his crimes. Mom was couch surfing at her book club friends' homes until they inevitably discovered the truth. Tyler was living in his car. The aunts and uncles had retreated to their respective homes, lawyering up and pointing fingers. The family that had celebrated unity on a stolen yacht was now completely fractured, held together only by shared legal troubles and mutual blame. "You know what's ironic?" I said to James as we prepared for bed Sunday night. "They spent $42,000 to celebrate family unity, and it ended up destroying them completely." "No," James corrected gently. "Their greed destroyed them. Their choices destroyed them. The money just revealed what was already broken." He was right. The money hadn't changed them. It had simply shown who they really were, and who they really were was a group of people who would smile at my engagement party while planning to rob me, who would choose a yacht over my wedding, who would take out life insurance policies on me while calling it love. But their return chaos had also shown me something else. The family I'd gained was worth more than the one I'd lost. Every time Grace checked on me, every time Christopher worked late on my case, every time James stood between me and my raging father, I saw what family really meant. Protection, support, showing up, choosing love over money, presence over paradise. The Thompsons might share my DNA, but the Mitchells had claimed my heart, and no amount of chaos could change that truth. The federal courthouse in downtown San Francisco felt appropriately imposing for what was about to unfold. Christopher had prepared me extensively, but nothing quite readied you for seeing your parents in orange jumpsuits and shackles. It was 3 weeks after my wedding, and the legal machinery had moved with stunning efficiency. The FBI had built what they called an overwhelming case: identity theft, wire fraud, conspiracy, money laundering, and thanks to Emma's confession, attempted racketeering. I sat in the gallery between James and Grace with Robert on Grace's other side, taking notes. The rest of our legal team filled the row behind us. Across the aisle sat what remained of my extended family's support system, a few distant cousins who still believed their lies, and Uncle Frank's lawyer, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. "All rise," the bailiff announced, the Honorable Judge Patricia Reeves presiding. Judge Reeves was known for her no-nonsense approach to financial crimes. Christopher had said we couldn't have gotten a better draw. She surveyed the courtroom with sharp eyes that lingered on my parents. "We're here for the preliminary hearing in United States versus Thompson et al. Let's begin with the charges." The prosecutor, Assistant U.S. Attorney Sarah Chen, stood. "Your Honor, The United States charges the following individuals with conspiracy to commit wire fraud, aggravated identity theft, money laundering, and racketeering. She read through the list of defendants: Mom, Dad, Uncle Frank, Aunt Sharon, and 6 other family members who had actively participated in the theft. Tyler had made a deal similar to Emma's, agreeing to testify in exchange for lesser charges. The evidence will show, Chen continued, that the defendants engaged in a systematic multi-year scheme to defraud Miss Mildred Thompson, now Mrs. Mitchell, of her inheritance through elaborate deception, identity theft, and financial manipulation. Dad's lawyer, an overpriced suit named Morrison, stood. Your Honor, this is simply a family dispute over inheritance, certainly nothing rising to federal charges. Judge Reeves peered over her glasses. Counsel, are you suggesting that stealing $42,000 through fraudulent means is a simple family dispute, when the victim is family and the money was arguably shared family resources? I'll stop you there, the judge interrupted. The law doesn't recognize it's okay to steal from family as a defense. Proceed, Ms. Chen. The prosecutor laid out the case methodically. The Unity Family Ventures LLC fraud, the fake medical emergency, the systematic draining of accounts, the life insurance policies. She had receipts literally for everything. We have 23 co-conspirators who coordinated across state lines to execute this fraud, Chen explained. They used sophisticated methods to hide their crimes, including creating false business entities and forging documents. She clicked through a presentation showing the paper trail. There was Dad's signature on LLC documents, Mom's emails coordinating the Maui trip, bank statements showing the money flow, screenshots of their social media posts celebrating with my money. But perhaps most damning, Chen continued, is this. She played an audio recording. Emma's voice filled the courtroom. Dad said we deserved that money more than Mildred, that she was selfish for keeping it. Mom made a spreadsheet of everything we could buy once we had full access. They called it Project Liberation. Several people in this gallery gasped. I recognized some of them as family friends who'd believed my parents' version of events. Your Honor, Chen continued, we also have evidence of witness tampering. The defendants have been harassing Mrs. Mitchell despite restraining orders attempting to coerce her into dropping charges. Security footage played showing Dad at our door, Mom's screaming fit, Uncle Frank's bribe attempt. Each violation added another charge to their growing list. Morrison tried damage control. Your Honor, these were emotional responses to a difficult family situation. My clients were distraught over missing their daughter's wedding due to a scheduling misunderstanding. Objection, Chen said calmly. Defense is mischaracterizing evidence. We have documentation proving the defendants deliberately scheduled their trip during the wedding. Sustained, Judge Reeves said. Mr. Morrison, I've seen the evidence. Please don't insult the court's intelligence. Then came the moment that shifted everything. Chen introduced the life insurance policies. Your Honor, we've discovered 4 separate life insurance policies taken out on Mrs. Mitchell without her knowledge or consent, totaling $2 million. The defendants are listed as beneficiaries. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Judge Reeves banged her gavel. Furthermore, Chen continued, once quiet resumed, we have text messages between the defendants discussing these policies. Mr. Thompson wrote, and I quote, "If something happens to M, we're set for life. Maybe that yacht trip should have been one way for her." I felt James tense beside me. Grace gripped my hand so tightly it hurt. Dad's lawyer objected frantically. That was clearly a joke taken out of context. A joke about murdering your daughter for insurance money, Judge Reeves asked. Would you like to explain what context makes that funny, counselor? Morrison sat down defeated. Mom's separate counsel, a nervous woman named Patel, tried a different approach. Your Honor, Mrs. Thompson has been under tremendous stress. She's been diagnosed with adjustment disorder and depression. We request a psychological evaluation. Noted, the judge said. But mental health issues don't excuse systematic fraud. Is your client claiming she was incompetent during the 2 years she planned and executed this scheme? No, Your Honor, Patel admitted. Uncle Frank's lawyer attempted to separate his client from the main conspiracy. Mr. Frank Thompson was merely following family leadership. He had no decision-making role in this unfortunate situation. Chen pulled up bank records. Mr. Frank Thompson personally withdrew $8,000 from the victim's account. He booked the yacht in his name. He sent photos from said yacht to taunt the victim during her wedding. That seems like active participation to me. As the hearing progressed, the family's defense strategies became clear. Blame each other. Dad's lawyer suggested Mom was the mastermind. Moms pointed to Dad's gambling debts as motivation. Uncle Frank claimed he was coerced. Aunt Sharon insisted she thought the money was a gift. "Your Honor," Chen said, clearly frustrated, "the defendants can't all be innocent victims of each other. They worked together, they planned together, they stole together, and now they want to avoid consequences by pointing fingers." Judge Reeves nodded. "I'm inclined to agree. I've reviewed the evidence and I find probable cause for all charges. Trial is set for August 15th. Given the severity of the charges and the documented harassment of the victim, bail is set at $200,000 per defendant, cash only, no property bonds." The gallery erupted. $200,000 each. None of them had that kind of liquid capital, especially after spending everything on their Maui adventure. "Your Honor, that's excessive," Morrison protested. "Your client stole money to fund a luxury vacation while their daughter got married alone," Judge Reeves said coldly. "They then harassed her and discussed her death as a financial opportunity. I consider them flight risks and dangers to the victim. Bail stands." Additionally, she continued, "restraining orders are upgraded to criminal protective orders. Any contact with Mrs. Mitchell will result in immediate jail time. And I mean any contact. No calls, texts, emails, social media posts, or third-party messages. If they so much as like a Facebook post about her, they're going to jail." Mom broke down crying. "She's my daughter! You can't keep me from my daughter!" "Your daughter is a victim of your crimes," the judge responded. "The law absolutely can and will keep you from her. Deputies, please escort the defendants back to holding." As they were led away, Dad turned to stare at me. The look in his eyes wasn't remorse or sadness. It was pure rage, hatred that I dared to fight back, that I'd refused to be their perpetual victim. "I love you, baby girl," Mom wailed as she was dragged past. "I'll always love you." I said nothing. Love wasn't theft. Love wasn't betrayal. Love wasn't choosing a yacht over your daughter's wedding. After they were gone, we met with Chen in a conference room. "That went well," she said. "Their lawyers are clearly overwhelmed. The finger-pointing will only intensify as we get closer to trial." "What happens next?" I asked. "Discovery. We'll get access to all their financial records, communications, everything. Based on what we found so far, I suspect this goes even deeper. Your grandmother's estate lawyer mentioned other family members who might have been victims over the years." She was right. Over the next weeks, the investigation expanded. Dad had stolen from his business partners. Mom had embezzled from her employer. Uncle Frank had defrauded investors. The family business wasn't just crime. It was a crime syndicate built on exploiting anyone who trusted them. Emma testified before the grand jury detailing years of family meetings where they'd discussed various schemes. She produced recordings she'd made initially to protect herself, but now evidence of the conspiracy. "They called it harvesting," she explained in one recording. "Finding family members or friends with resources and figuring out how to redirect those resources to the family fund. Mildred was their biggest target because of Grandma Rose, but she wasn't the only one." Tyler corroborated everything, adding details about the gambling connections and money laundering. He revealed that the yacht celebration wasn't just about spending my money. It was a victory party for successfully completing their biggest harvest. The trial date approached with the family still in custody, unable to make bail. Their assets were frozen by the government. Their homes faced foreclosure. Their reputations were destroyed. But perhaps the most satisfying development came from Maria, the cousin who'd skipped the trip. She'd started a blog called Breaking the Chain: Escaping a Toxic Family Legacy. Her posts about recognizing inherited toxic patterns and choosing different paths went viral. She donated any ad revenue to fraud victim support groups. "Every family has patterns," she wrote in one post. "Mine happens to be crime, but patterns can be broken. Chains can be shattered. We don't have to become our parents' worst selves." As August 15th approached, I prepared to testify against the people who'd given me life but tried to destroy it. The Thompsons might have thought they were entitled to my inheritance, but all they'd really inherited was a legacy of consequences. And Justice Like Family was about to show them what accountability really looked like. The digital battlefield exploded the morning after the preliminary hearing. Despite Judge Reeves's strict no-contact order, my family had found their loophole getting others to post for them. It started with cousin Brad's wife, soon-to-be ex Stephanie. Her Instagram post featured a photo of Brad in his orange jumpsuit with the caption, "How's that family unity working out now? Maybe next time don't steal from the bride to fund your boy's trip." The comments section became a war zone. Brad's friends defended him, while others shared their own stories of being scammed by various Thompson family members over the years. The post went viral within hours, shared across platforms with increasingly creative hashtags. By noon, Wedding Thieves was trending locally. Someone had created a TikTok using the yacht footage overlaid with the wedding march captioned, "POV, your family celebrates stealing your inheritance while you walk down the aisle alone." It garnered 3 million views in 6 hours. Christopher called an emergency meeting. "We need to discuss strategy. This social media explosion could impact jury selection." We gathered in his office, me, James, Grace, Robert, and David from Forensic Accounting. The wall of screens showed various social media platforms all discussing the Thompson family fraud. "Look at this." David pulled up Twitter. A thread by a financial crimes journalist had gained massive traction. Thread: "The Thompson family fraud is a masterclass in financial abuse. Let's break down how they systematically stole $42K from their own daughter, niece, sister to fund a luxury vacation on her wedding day. 1. 27 tweets followed, complete with receipts, screenshots, and analysis. The journalist had done their homework, including finding previous victims. "This is actually helpful," Christopher noted. "Public record information professionally presented. But then there's this." He switched screens to Facebook, where things had gotten messy. Someone had created a page called Justice for Mildred without my permission. It had 40,000 members sharing increasingly wild theories about my family's crimes. "They're suggesting your parents killed your grandmother," Grace said, scrolling through posts. "That's completely unfounded." "Is it?" I asked quietly. "She died 2 weeks after changing her will to exclude them entirely. The hospice notes mentioned they were angry about being cut out." Christopher made a note. "We'll have the prosecutor look into it, but for now we need to address the circus." As if on cue, my phone buzzed. Local news wanted a statement, then national news, then Dr. Phil's producers. Everyone wanted the exclusive on the family that chose fraud over family. "No interviews," Christopher said firmly. "Let them hang themselves while you maintain dignity." But my family had other plans. From jail, they'd orchestrated a media campaign through flying monkeys, relatives and friends who still believed their lies. Aunt Carol, Dad's sister, who lived in Portland, posted a tearful video. "My brother is not a monster. This is all a misunderstanding blown out of proportion by a vindictive daughter who always wanted attention. Mildred broke her parents' hearts by marrying against their wishes. This is her revenge." The video backfired spectacularly. Comments flooded in. "Ma'am, they literally stole money to go to Hawaii during her wedding. Marrying against their wishes. She's 28, not 12. Found another family member who supports fraud." Then came the blog post that changed everything. Mom's former best friend Linda had stayed silent until now. Her Medium article titled, "I watched my best friend plan to rob her daughter," went mega viral. For 2 years, I listened to Jessica Thompson detail her plans to access her daughter's inheritance. She called it reclaiming what was rightfully theirs. I stayed quiet out of misguided loyalty. No more. Here's what I witnessed. Linda detailed everything. The secret meetings, the practice runs on smaller thefts, the way they'd gaslight me at family dinners, making me feel guilty for inheriting money, the celebration dinner they'd held after successfully accessing my accounts. The worst part, Linda wrote, was how they'd laugh about Mildred trusting them. Jessica would say, "She's so naive, still thinking Mommy loves her." They viewed her love as weakness to exploit. The article included screenshots of texts between Linda and Mom, damning messages like, "Almost got access to the main account. M fell for the surgery story completely. Can't wait to see her face when she realizes we're in Maui instead of her pathetic wedding. Maybe we should take out more insurance policies. She's worth more dead than alive, LOL." That last text sparked a fresh wave of outrage. The LOL made it worse somehow, the casual cruelty of joking about my death for profit. Emma, out on bail and cooperating fully, broke her silence with a simple tweet. "I participated in my family's crimes. I'm testifying against them not for leniency, but because it's right. Mildred deserved better. We all knew it. We did it anyway. That's unforgivable." The responses ranged from supportive to scathing, but Emma didn't engage further. She'd said her piece. The social media storm attracted unexpected allies. A Hollywood actress whose family had similarly betrayed her shared our story with her millions of followers. A famous entrepreneur offered to pay for additional security. GoFundMe pages sprouted offering to reimburse my stolen inheritance, though I declined them all. But the most powerful moment came from an unexpected source. Tyler from Federal Holding managed to get a message posted through his lawyer. I helped steal from my sister, not because I needed money, but because I felt entitled to it. I chose greed over love, jealousy over joy, a yacht over her wedding. I'm exactly who Grandma Rose knew I was. Mildred, you deserved so much better than us. I'm sorry it took handcuffs to see that. The authenticity of his remorse compared to our parents' continued denials resonated with people. Local news ran a segment interviewing wedding vendors from my big day. The florist teared up, describing how I'd maintained composure despite my family's absence. The photographer shared with permission a photo of Grace walking me down the aisle, both of us smiling through tears. The image went viral as a testament to chosen family over blood relations. But my biological family wouldn't go down without a fight. Uncle Frank's son, who hadn't been charged, started a competing hashtag Family First, trying to paint me as the villain who broke up a loving family over money. It failed spectacularly when internet sleuths discovered his own criminal record for fraud. Turns out apple trees and distances weren't really a thing in the Thompson family. The digital war peaked when someone leaked jail phone recordings, Dad calling me that ungrateful witch who destroyed everything. Mom sobbing to her sister that I was possessed by greed. Uncle Frank promising to make her pay when I get out. Each recording added fuel to the public fury. Memes sprouted like mushrooms. The yacht photo became an internet sensation photoshopped into increasingly absurd scenarios. My favorite showed them sailing into a prison cell. Major media outlets picked up the story. The New York Times ran a feature on financial abuse within families. The Washington Post analyzed the psychology of generational theft. CNN's legal analyst called it the most clear-cut case of family fraud I've seen in 20 years of practice. But the moment that broke through all the noise came from an unlikely source. My grandmother's elderly sister, Great Aunt Ruth, who'd been in a nursing home and unaware of the drama, gave an interview to her local paper. Rose knew exactly what that family was. She told me, "Ruth, they'll come for Millie's money the second I'm gone. But I've raised that girl to be stronger than their greed." She'd be proud that Mildred fought back, and she'd be heartbroken but not surprised that she had to. The interview included a photo of Grandma Rose with teenage me. Her arms were around me protectively, as if shielding me from future harm. The caption she'd written on the back revealed for the first time, "My granddaughter, too good for the wolves I raised." That image became the defining symbol of the story. The grandmother who saw clearly the granddaughter who had to learn the hard way, and the wolves who proved exactly what they were when they chose a yacht over a wedding. As the social media war raged, one truth became undeniable. The court of public opinion had rendered its verdict long before the legal system would. The Thompson family had exposed themselves not through my actions, but through their own entitled choices and cruel words. "You know what's ironic?" I told James as we scrolled through the latest developments. "They spent all that money trying to create picture-perfect family memories in Maui. Instead, they created evidence of their own downfall. And gave you the greatest gift," Grace added, joining us, "proof that you were right to trust your chosen family instead." The social media war would continue until the trial, and probably beyond. But in destroying my family's reputation, it had also done something else, shown thousands of others in similar situations that they weren't alone, that family abuse was real, and that fighting back was possible. The Thompsons had wanted to go viral with their luxury vacation. They'd succeeded beyond their wildest nightmares. The family tree didn't just split, it exploded into splinters. 3 months after my wedding, as the August trial date loomed, the Thompson clan had devolved into warring factions that would have made the Hatfields and McCoys look like a peaceful book club. It started with the money. With all the main conspirators' assets frozen and their bail set impossibly high, the extended family began fighting over who would pay for lawyers, who would keep whose house from foreclosure, and who deserved help at all. Cousin Brad's divorce had turned particularly ugly. Stephanie, his soon-to-be ex-wife, had hired Grace's friend as her attorney and was systematically exposing every financial crime Brad had ever committed. "Did you know," Stephanie told me during a coffee meeting she'd requested, "that Brad's been running his own scams for years he learned from your dad. That investment opportunity he pitched at Christmas complete pyramid scheme. I found spreadsheets." She slid a folder across the table. "I thought you should have these for the federal prosecutor. Turns out the apple doesn't fall far from the criminally liable tree. The documents showed Brad had been running miniature versions of Dad's schemes since college. Fake charity drives, bogus investment opportunities, even selling non-existent concert tickets to friends. All learned behaviors from watching the family operate. "I'm testifying too," Stephanie continued, "about the planning meetings I overheard, the way they talked about you like you were a walking ATM. Did you know they had a nickname for you?" My stomach turned. "What?" "The Golden Goose. Because you kept laying eggs, getting promotions, saving money, building a life that they could steal." The cruelty of it sat heavy between us. My own family had reduced me to a fairy tale creature to be exploited. But Stephanie's defection was just the beginning. As word spread through the extended family that serious jail time was likely, alliances crumbled like stale cookies. Great Aunt Ruth, Grandma Rose's sister, had become an unexpected warrior for justice. At 91, she'd hired her own lawyer and was systematically disinheriting anyone who had participated in or supported the fraud. "I've rewritten my will 17 times in 3 months, she told me during a visit. "Every time another rat shows their true colors, out they go. At this rate, the cat rescue will inherit everything." She pulled out a leather journal. "Your grandmother kept records. Did you know that every slight, every theft, every manipulation, she documented 40 years of your parents' greed?" The journal was damning. Grandma Rose had recorded Dad stealing from the church collection plate, Mom manipulating elderly relatives into lending money that was never repaid, Uncle Frank running insurance scams, Aunt Sharon shoplifting and blaming teenage me when caught. "Why didn't she do anything?" I asked, reading entry after horrible entry. "She tried. Filed police reports that went nowhere because family doesn't prosecute family. Confronted them and got gaslit. Eventually she just documented and protected what she could. You." Ruth's lawyer had shared the journal with prosecutors. It established a pattern of behavior spanning decades, turning what might have been dismissed as an isolated incident into evidence of generational criminal enterprise. The family fracture deepened when Uncle Frank's wife, Patricia, not James's sister, just an unfortunate name coincidence, filed for divorce and revealed her own secret. She'd been recording Frank for years for her own protection. "I knew what he was," she told the FBI in a recorded interview Christopher shared with me. "But I was scared. He said if I ever left, he'd destroy me financially, so I recorded everything. 5 years of evidence." Her recordings included Frank discussing the Mildred score, as he called it, planning meetings where they decided how much they could steal without me noticing, debates about whether to go for the kill and take everything or milk her slowly over years. They'd chosen the kill shot. It had killed them instead. The fractures spread to the next generation. My cousins split into camps, those horrified by their parents' actions and those defending them. Facebook became a battleground of accusation and recrimination. Cousin Maria, who'd started the blog about breaking toxic family patterns, had become the unofficial leader of the Reform faction. She organized therapy groups for family members grappling with the inherited dysfunction. "We're not our parents," became their rallying cry. "We can choose differently." But others dug in deeper. Brad's younger brother Mike started a podcast called Family Loyalty, defending the theft as justified redistribution of wealth. Each episode drew more criticism as he revealed just how entitled the family philosophy was. "Grandma Rose hoarded that money," he ranted in one episode. "She could have helped the whole family thrive. Instead, she gave it all to perfect Princess Mildred, who already had everything." The comments destroyed him. People pointed out I'd worked full-time through college, lived in a studio apartment, and drove a 12-year-old car, while his family vacationed yearly in Europe. The podcast lasted 3 episodes before public backlash forced him offline. Then came the revelation that shattered what remained of family unity. During discovery, prosecutors found evidence that Dad had been stealing from other family members too. He'd taken $20,000 from Uncle Frank through a fake business deal, borrowed $30,000 from Aunt Sharon's retirement fund with no intention of repaying, even scammed his own brother out of a car. "He stole from everyone," Uncle Frank raged in a recorded jail call to his lawyer. "We were robbing Mildred together while he was robbing us separately. There's no honor among thieves because there's no honor in that man." The irony wasn't lost on anyone. They'd united to steal from me, only to discover they'd been stealing from each other all along. Mom's family wasn't spared either. Her sister Louise came forward with her own story. Mom had stolen their mother's jewelry after she died, claiming it was lost. Louise had found photos on Mom's Facebook wearing the lost pieces at various events. She looked me in the eye at Mother's funeral and comforted me about the missing jewelry. Louise told prosecutors, while wearing mother's pearl necklace under her collar. The Thompson family reunions, once massive affairs with matching T-shirts and professional photographers, were officially dead. The last attempt at gathering had resulted in a physical fight between Brad's father and Uncle Frank's son over who owed whom more money. But perhaps the most painful fracture came from an unexpected source. My father's elderly mother, my last living grandparent, finally spoke out. Grandma Thompson had been silent through the arrests, the hearings, the media storm. Then she gave a single interview to our hometown paper. "I failed as a mother," she said simply. "I raised thieves. I taught them that family meant enabling instead of accountability. I see now what Rose saw, that love isn't letting people destroy themselves and others. It's stopping them. I should have stopped them 40 years ago." She'd removed Dad and Uncle Frank from her will, leaving everything to charity. "They've taken enough," she explained. "From me, from each other, from poor Mildred. No more." The family tree that had once boasted 5 generations of successful Thompsons at every reunion now resembled a forest after wildfire. Scattered survivors among the ashes, some trying to grow in new directions, others stubbornly clinging to burned branches. Maria's blog had become a support group for others from toxic families. Breaking the chain meetings popped up nationwide, people gathering to discuss inherited dysfunction and how to stop passing it on. "My family taught me that love meant letting them hurt you," one member shared in a post Maria let me read. "Mildred's story taught me that's not love. It's abuse with a holiday card attached." Emma attended every meeting, working through her own complicity. Tyler joined virtually from federal detention. Even some of the younger cousins showed up, determined not to become their parents. But others retreated deeper into denial. Brad blamed Stephanie for his troubles. Mike blamed me for destroying family unity. Some aunts and uncles pretended nothing had happened, posting old family photos with captions about better times, while their siblings sat in federal custody. The fracture was complete when the family matriarch, Great Aunt Ruth, held a new kind of reunion. She invited only those family members who had either avoided the crimes or were actively making amends. 12 people showed up out of a family that once boasted over 100 at gatherings. "This is our new beginning," Ruth announced. "We're no longer the Thompson family that steals. We're the Thompson family that heals. And if that means we're smaller, so be it. Better a small garden of flowers than a large field of weeds." I was invited but didn't attend. Some fractures run too deep. Some trust once shattered can't be rebuilt with good intentions and therapy sessions. "You could go," James suggested gently. "Some of them are trying." "They are," I agreed, "and I hope they succeed. But I've found my family. I don't need to salvage the one that tried to destroy me." The Thompsons would continue fracturing, reforming, evolving, or in some cases devolving further into criminality. But they'd do it without me. I'd given them enough of my life, my trust, my grandmother's money. The family tree had split, and I'd chosen the branch that actually supported my growth, the Mitchells. Let the Thompsons figure out how to grow without feeding off others. I had my own garden to tend, surrounded by people who knew that family meant nurturing, not exploiting. The fracture was complete, and I was finally truly free. August 15th arrived with unprecedented heat, both meteorological and legal. The federal courthouse had to establish overflow rooms for media and spectators, as United States v. Thompson became the most watched trial of the year. I sat in the witness waiting room, hands folded in my lap, wearing the navy suit Grace had helped me choose. "Professional but not severe," she'd said. "You want to look like exactly what you are, a successful young woman who was betrayed by those who should have protected her." Christopher reviewed my testimony one final time. "Remember, just tell the truth. Don't elaborate beyond what's asked. Let the evidence speak." "The evidence screams," David added, gesturing to the boxes of documentation he'd compiled. "Your family didn't just leave breadcrumbs, they left an entire bakery." When my name was called, I walked into the packed courtroom. On the defendant's side sat my parents, Uncle Frank, Aunt Sharon, and 4 other relatives who hadn't taken plea deals. They wore suits, but orange jumpsuit shadows seemed to cling to them. Mom tried to catch my eye, mouthing, "I love you." I looked straight ahead. "Please state your name for the record," the prosecutor began. "Mildred Ann Mitchell, formerly Thompson." "Mrs. Mitchell, please tell the court about your relationship with your grandmother, Rose Thompson." For the next hour, I detailed Grandma Rose's illness, her explicit wishes about the inheritance, and her warnings about family greed. I produced her letters, read her words about why she'd left everything to me. She wrote, "Mildred, they will come for this money. They will smile and lie and claim love while planning theft. Be stronger than their greed. You are the only one I trust to use this gift wisely." "How did your family react to the inheritance?" Chen asked. "They were furious. Dad said I'd manipulated a dying woman. Mom accused me of elder abuse. They demanded I share fairly with everyone." "And did you—" "I offered to pay for a family dinner after the funeral. They said that was insulting. They wanted the money divided equally among all family members, which would have been about $2,000 each." "What happened next?" "I detailed the fake medical emergency, Dad's supposed surgery, my trusting decision to grant him access. The gallery hung on every word as I explained discovering the theft on my wedding day, the yacht photos, the taunting messages. How did you feel seeing your entire family on that yacht?" Morrison objected. "Relevance goes to the emotional impact of the crime, Your Honor," Chen responded. "Overruled. The witness may answer." "Devastated," I said simply. "Not just about the money, about realizing that every family member I'd loved had conspired against me, that they'd planned for months to abandon me on the most important day of my life funded by theft." Chen introduced the yacht photos into evidence. 23 smiling faces, champagne glasses raised the family unity banner clearly visible, the timestamp showing the exact moment I was walking down the aisle alone. "Did any family member warn you about this plan?" "No, they all actively participated in deceiving me. They RSVP'd yes to the wedding, discussed dress shopping, helped with planning, all while knowing they'd be in Maui instead." The cross-examination came from Morrison Dad's lawyer, who tried to paint me as a selfish daughter hoarding family money. "Isn't it true you refused to help your father with his medical bills?" "There were no medical bills. He faked the entire surgery." "You can't know that for certain." "Christopher had prepared me for this." "I can. During discovery, you were required to produce all medical records. There are none. No hospital admission, no surgical notes, no follow-up care, because it never happened." Morrison pivoted. "Your family has always struggled financially while you lived comfortably. Didn't you feel any obligation to help?" "My parents have a combined income of over $200,000 a year. They own 2 homes and 3 cars. What struggle? Yet you kept all the money for yourself." "I kept the money my grandmother specifically left to me to buy a home with my husband. That's not selfish. That's following her wishes." Morrison tried one more angle. "These are your parents. The people who raised you, fed you, clothed you. Doesn't that mean anything?" I looked directly at Mom and Dad for the first time. It meant everything. That's why their betrayal is so complete. They didn't just steal money. They stole my faith and family love. Mom started crying. Dad's jaw clenched, but neither looked away. The prosecutor's redirect was swift. "Mrs. Mitchell, what would you have done if your family had simply asked for help?" "I would have helped. I always did. I paid for Mom's car repairs last year, helped with Dad's business taxes, bought groceries when Emma was between jobs. The theft wasn't about need, it was about entitlement." My testimony concluded, and other witnesses took the stand. Emma, shaking but determined, detailed every planning meeting, every scheme, every cruel joke about the golden goose. "They called her that," Emma testified, "because she kept providing things they could take. Dad said the wedding was perfect timing because Mildred would be too distracted to notice the money missing until they were already in Maui." Tyler followed, revealing the gambling connections and money laundering attempts. Dad already had plans for Mildred's money before Grandma was even dead. He showed me spreadsheets of what everyone would get. Mom picked out a new car from her share. Uncle Frank had yacht brochures. The most damaging testimony came from the FBI's financial crimes expert who walked the jury through the sophisticated fraud. "This wasn't impulse theft," Agent Martinez explained. "This was a complex conspiracy involving forged documents, created business entities, and systematic deception over multiple years. The level of planning rivals organized crime operations I've investigated." She showed charts detailing the money flow, the creation of Unity Family Ventures LLC, the various bank accounts used to hide transactions. "Most devastating to the victim," Martinez continued. "They used her social security number and personal information to potentially implicate her in their crimes. If we hadn't intervened, Mrs. Mitchell could have faced liability for fraudulent loans, unpaid taxes on the LLC, even criminal charges for the money laundering. The defense's case was a disaster. Dad took the stand against his lawyer's advice, his arrogance intact despite months in federal custody. That money was family money," he insisted. "Rose was my mother. Her estate belonged to all her children, not just her granddaughter. "But the will specified," Chen began. "The will was wrong," Dad exploded. "Mildred manipulated my mother against her own children. She poisoned her mind with feminist nonsense about independence. So you felt justified in stealing." "It wasn't stealing, it was reclaiming what was rightfully ours." The jury's faces said everything. Dad had just confessed while claiming innocence. Mom's testimony was pure manipulation. She cried about missing her daughter, about the breakdown of family bonds, about how she'd only wanted everyone to be together in Maui. "Then why didn't you invite your daughter?" Chen asked. "She was busy with the wedding." "The wedding you were supposed to attend?" Mom faltered. We thought she'd understand. Family vacations are important too. More important than her wedding." "No, I mean, we made a mistake in timing." Chen pulled up the planning documents. "These show you specifically scheduled the trip for her wedding day. Why?" Mom's mask finally slipped. "Because she was being selfish. All that money for one day for a party when family needed it for practical things." "Practical like a $12,000 yacht rental." The jury forewoman actually laughed. Judge Reeves restored order, but the damage was done. Uncle Frank claimed he was just following family leadership. Aunt Sharon insisted she thought the money was a gift. The other defendants pointed fingers at each other so frantically the judge had to repeatedly call for order. Closing arguments laid everything bare. Chen methodically destroyed any sympathy for the defendants. They stole $42,000 from their daughter, sister, and niece. They used that stolen money to vacation in luxury while she walked down the aisle alone. They took out life insurance policies on her. They committed identity theft that could have destroyed her future. And they did it all with smiles and declarations of love. This isn't just fraud. It's a betrayal so complete it defies comprehension. Morrison tried to salvage something. These are imperfect people who made terrible decisions, but they're still family. They still love Mildred despite their actions. Don't destroy what remains of these family bonds. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. 2 hours to review 2 years of planning, $42,000 in theft, and a lifetime of betrayal. "Has the jury reached a verdict?" "We have, Your Honor." Count by count, defendant by defendant, the word came down: guilty. 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 Wire fraud, guilty. Identity theft, guilty. Money laundering, guilty. Conspiracy, guilty. Racketeering, guilty. Mom sobbed. Dad turned purple with rage. Uncle Frank slumped in his chair. Aunt Sharon fainted for real this time. Judge Reeves set sentencing for next month. "However, given the severity of the crimes and the defendants' complete lack of remorse, I'm inclined to apply maximum sentences. The defendants will remain in custody until sentencing." As they were led away in handcuffs, Dad turned to me one last time. "You destroyed us." "No," I said clearly. "You destroyed yourselves. I just refused to be destroyed with you." Outside the courthouse, media swarmed. Christopher made a brief statement while James and Grace shepherded me to the car. "Justice was served," Christopher told the cameras. "Mrs. Mitchell has shown incredible courage in standing up to family members who viewed her not as a daughter or sister, but as a resource to exploit. This verdict sends a clear message: family doesn't excuse fraud." That night, surrounded by my real family, the Mitchells who'd stood by me, supported me, and never once suggested I should have shared my inheritance, I finally felt the weight lift. "It's over," James said, holding me close. "The legal part," I agreed. "The healing might take longer." Grace brought champagne. "Then we'd better start celebrating the good parts, like the fact that you stood up to them and won, that you showed everyone what real strength looks like." We toasted to justice, to chosen family, to Grandma Rose's wisdom in protecting me, even from beyond the grave. The Thompsons would face their sentences next month. Years in federal prison, financial restitution, and the complete destruction of their reputation awaited them. But I wouldn't be there to watch. I'd already given them enough of my time, my tears, my life. The verdict was their ending. My story was just beginning. September 20th arrived with the kind of crisp clarity that made everything feel more real. The sentencing hearing would close this chapter of legal proceedings, but the consequences had already rippled far beyond the courtroom. I sat once again in the federal courthouse, but this time with less anxiety. The guilty verdicts had validated everything: my pain, my choices, my refusal to be a perpetual victim. James sat on my right, Grace on my left, our chosen family filling the rows behind us. Judge Reeves entered and the courtroom rose. She'd reviewed pre-sentencing reports, victim impact statements, and character references. The stack of papers before her told the story of lives destroyed by greed. "We'll begin with the sentencing for Robert Thompson Sr.," she announced. Dad stood, his expensive suit unable to hide the months of federal detention. His lawyer made one last plea for leniency, citing his age, his business contributions to the community, his role as a father. Judge Reeves wasn't moved. "Mr. Thompson, you orchestrated a complex fraud against your own daughter. You stole her inheritance to fund a luxury vacation during her wedding. You took out life insurance policies on her. You showed no remorse during trial, instead claiming entitlement to money that wasn't yours." She paused, studying him over her glasses. "The pre-sentencing report reveals this isn't your first fraud. You've stolen from business partners' church funds, even your own brother. You're not a father who made a mistake. You're a serial criminal who happened to have children. For conspiracy to commit wire fraud, 48 months. For identity theft, 36 months. For money laundering, 60 months. Sentences to run consecutively. Total 144 months in federal prison. 12 years. Dad's legs buckled. 12 years. He'd be 74 when released. "Additionally," Judge Reeves continued, "you will pay full restitution of $42,000 plus interest and penalties. You're barred from any fiduciary positions for life. No contact with the victim for life." Mom was next. Her lawyer painted her as a follower manipulated by her domineering husband. The tears flowed freely as she stood. "Mrs. Thompson," Judge Reeves began, "you want this court to believe you were a passive participant, but the evidence shows you actively planned this fraud. You coordinated the Maui trip. You posted taunting messages during your daughter's wedding. You suggested the life insurance policies." Mom's tears stopped abruptly. "You used your position as a mother to manipulate your daughter's trust. That betrayal deserves no leniency. 96 months, 8 years, same financial penalties and restrictions as your husband." One by one, the other defendants faced their fate. Uncle Frank, 7 years. Aunt Sharon, 5 years. The cousins and extended family, 3 to 5 years each, depending on their level of involvement. But the sentences were just the beginning of the consequences. Furthermore, Judge Reeves announced, "This court is referring evidence to the IRS regarding tax fraud, to state authorities regarding additional theft victims, and to the Postal Service regarding mail fraud. Additional charges may be forthcoming." The financial consequences had already begun. The family homes had been seized for restitution, retirement accounts liquidated, businesses shuttered. The Thompson empire, built on decades of fraud, collapsed entirely. "Before we conclude," Judge Reeves said, "I want to address something. The defendants have repeatedly claimed this was just family money and that the victim was selfish for not sharing. Let me be clear, inheritance isn't communal property. Theft is theft, whether the victim is family or a stranger. In fact, stealing from family is worse because it exploits trust and love." She looked directly at my parents. "You raised a successful, trusting daughter. Instead of being proud, you saw her as a resource to exploit. You've lost more than your freedom. You've lost the love of the child you were supposed to protect. That's a life sentence you've given yourselves." After the sentencing, we met with Chen one last time. "The restitution process will take months, but you'll recover the stolen funds plus significant penalties. The life insurance policies have been canceled, and you've been removed from any documents they forged." "What about the other victims?" I asked. "The people they stole from before me." "We're building cases. Your courage in coming forward opened the floodgates. 17 other victims have filed complaints. The Thompson fraud ring is finished." Outside the courthouse, the media waited. This time I was ready to speak. "My grandmother warned me that money reveals character," I said into the microphones. She was right. My family revealed who they truly are, people who would steal from their own daughter and celebrate during her wedding. But this story isn't about them anymore. It's about surviving family betrayal and building a life with people who actually love you. "What's next for you?" a reporter asked. "Living, healing, being grateful for the family I chose and who chose me back." The consequences continued rippling outward over the following months. Brad's divorce finalized, with Stephanie getting everything, using his fraud conviction to claim all assets. His business dissolved when clients learned about his crimes. He'd lost his wife, his home, his career, and his freedom in one spectacular fall. Mike, who'd started the Defensive podcast, found himself unemployable. His name was too tied to the family crimes. He moved states and changed careers, working minimum wage, while cursing my name on social media until his probation officer made him stop. Emma, who'd cooperated, fully received 2 years probation and mandatory therapy. She'd enrolled in social work school, determined to help other victims of family financial abuse. Her testimony had been crucial, and while I couldn't forgive her yet, I respected her attempt at redemption. Tyler got 3 years, but was approved for a rehabilitation program. His gambling connections had been severed, his debts cleared through bankruptcy. He wrote me letters I didn't read, James screening them first for threats before filing them away. The extended family scattered like roaches when lights came on. Some fled the state, others changed their names. The Thompson name, once prominent in our hometown, became synonymous with greed and betrayal. Mom's employer, the bank, conducted a full audit after her conviction. They discovered she'd been skimming for years, leading to additional charges. Her professional licenses were revoked. She'd never work in finance again. Dad's business partners sued him for fraud, winning massive judgments he'd never be able to pay from federal prison. His reputation in the business community was destroyed so thoroughly that MBA programs now used the Thompson fraud as a case study in ethics classes. The family homes were auctioned. I attended none of the sales, but heard from Maria that watching strangers buy their childhood homes while their parents sat in federal prison broke something in the cousins who'd defended them. They finally understood, Maria told me over coffee. Seeing Mom's house sold to pay restitution, Dad's business liquidated, their college funds seized. They finally got that this wasn't about you being selfish. It was about our parents being criminals. The Thompson Family Reunion's Facebook page was archived by investigators as evidence. The last post from the previous year showed everyone in matching shirts, family over everything. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. But the most significant consequence was the complete severing of family bonds. Siblings testified against each other. Parent-child relationships shattered. Cousins chose sides. The family that had vacationed together on my stolen money would never gather again. During victim impact statements, I'd said something that haunted them. You didn't just steal money, you stole my ability to trust family love. Every happy memory is now tainted by knowing you were planning to rob me. Every I love you feels like a lie. That's what you really took, my past as well as my future. 6 months after sentencing, I received a letter forwarded through Christopher. It was from Grandma Thompson, my last living grandparent. She'd moved to assisted living, her house sold to pay for care since her sons were in federal prison. My dear Mildred, she wrote in shaky handwriting, I've lived long enough to see my failure as a mother bear fruit. I raised thieves who raised thieves. The cycle ends with you because you were strong enough to break it. I'm proud of you for what that's worth. Love, Grandma T. I cried reading it, not for what was lost, but for what was acknowledged. One family member at least understood. The financial recovery took time, but happened as promised. The $42,000 was returned with interest and penalties, bringing the total to nearly $60,000. James and I bought our house with a down payment larger than originally planned. We planted a rose garden in the backyard, every bush a reminder of Grandma Rose's protection. The house filled with Mitchell family gatherings, Sunday dinners, holiday celebrations, random Tuesday visits from Grace, who happened to be in the neighborhood, with cookies. 1 year after the sentencing, a documentary crew reached out. They were creating a series on family financial fraud. Would I participate? I agreed, but with conditions. This wasn't about revenge or continued punishment. It was about helping others recognize the signs, protect themselves, and understand that family abuse is real abuse. The documentary included footage from the trial, the yacht photos, and interviews with other victims of Thompson family frauds. But it ended with something beautiful: video from James's and my vow renewal ceremony. We'd married again on our 2nd anniversary this time, surrounded by family who actually showed up. The church was full on both sides. My chosen family had grown to include colleagues who'd supported me, friends who'd stood by me, and even some reformed Thompson cousins who'd genuinely changed. Family isn't blood, I said in my renewed vows. Family is choice. It's showing up. It's protecting instead of exploiting. It's love demonstrated through action, not just claimed through DNA. The documentary ended with a statistic: 1 in 4 Americans will experience financial abuse by a family member. My story wasn't unique, but my ending, prosecution justice and building a better life, was unfortunately rare. Fight back, I told the camera in my final interview. Document everything. Press charges. Don't let "but their family" stop you from protecting yourself. Real family doesn't steal from you. Real family shows up for your wedding. The Thompsons served their time in various federal facilities. I kept tabs through the victim notification system but had no direct contact. They aged rapidly in prison, their health declining, their appeals failing. But I aged gracefully, surrounded by love that didn't cost $42,000 and a yacht rental. The Mitchells had given me something priceless, a family that valued me for me, not for what they could take. The verdicts had been read, the sentences served, the consequences rippled through generations, and I was free. 1 year later, spring returned with promise. The dogwood trees in our front yard bloomed pink and white, their petals dancing in the warm breeze. James and I stood on our front porch watching the moving truck pull away. We'd just finished furnishing the nursery. 28 weeks today, I said, hand resting on my growing belly. She's the size of an eggplant. James wrapped his arms around me from behind. Should we name her Rose? Middle name, I decided. She should have her own first name, but Rose belongs there. The house had become everything Grandma Rose envisioned when she left me that inheritance. Not just walls and a roof, but a home filled with love, laughter, and chosen family. The dining room table James's father built could seat 12, and regularly did. Grace had instituted Sunday dinners that rotated between houses. Last week at ours, 15 people had squeezed around that table: James's parents, his siblings, their spouses and kids, Patricia's new boyfriend, and us. The sound of genuine family connection filled rooms that had been bought with recovered fraud money, but were furnished with real love. "Mail's here," James noted, seeing the postal truck stop. I retrieved the stack, sorting through the usual bills and advertisements. A legal envelope caught my eye, Christopher's firm. Inside a brief note: "Mildred thought you should know. Final restitution payment processed. Case officially closed. Also, Emma asked me to forward the enclosed. Christopher." Behind his letter was a smaller envelope with Emma's careful handwriting. I hesitated. Her letters came periodically, updates on her progress that I usually had James read first. But something made me open this one myself. "Mildred, I graduate next month with my social work degree. My thesis was on family financial abuse and recovery. I dedicated it to you, not for forgiveness, but for truth. You saved my life by refusing to save our family dysfunction. I work with victims now. Every time someone says, 'but their family,' as a reason to accept abuse, I tell them about you, about how you stood up to 23 people who claimed to love you while robbing you, about how real family showed up when blood relatives sailed away. I don't expect reconciliation. I participated in something unforgivable. But I wanted you to know the golden goose became a phoenix. You rose from the ashes of what we burned down. I'm trying to rise too in my own way. Your work in progress, Sister Emma. P.S. Maria and I volunteer together at the financial abuse shelter. We're teaching people to recognize the signs. Your story saves others every day." I sat on the porch steps, letter trembling in my hands. James read over my shoulder. "How do you feel about that?" he asked gently. "Complicated," I admitted. Proud of her growth. Sad it took destroying everything to achieve it. Grateful she's helping others, but not ready to have her in my life. "That's okay," he assured me. "Forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation." Inside, my phone rang. Grace's name appeared on screen. "Darling, I'm at the fabric store. What color scheme did you decide for the nursery curtains? And don't say beige. My granddaughter deserves color." I smiled. "Soft lavender with silver accents, like twilight." "Perfect. Oh, and Saturday is the baby shower. Patricia's handling games, I've got food, and Robert's building something mysterious in the garage. He won't tell me what." The baby shower. A real one with family who would actually attend, who were excited about celebrating rather than calculating what they could steal. The normalcy of it felt miraculous after everything. That evening, while James assembled the crib, I worked on a project of my own. The baby book Grace had given me had a section for family trees. I'd been dreading it, unsure how to handle the complicated truth. But clarity came as I wrote. On the maternal side, I listed the biological facts, names, dates, basic information. Then I added a note. "Some branches of the family tree are poisoned. We pruned them to protect you. Your maternal family chose greed over love. That's all you need to know." On the paternal side, James's family filled multiple pages. Stories, photos, funny anecdotes about each person. "These are the people who showed up," I wrote, "who chose us before you were even conceived. This is your real family." I included a special page for Grandma Rose with her photo and the letter she'd written before dying. "For my great-granddaughter should Mildred have children. I may not meet you, but I protected your mother so she could protect you. Love is action, not words. Choose your family wisely." Saturday's baby shower exceeded expectations. The Mitchell backyard transformed into a garden party that would have made Martha Stewart jealous, but it was the guests that made it special. Patricia had invited my colleagues, the ones who'd supported me through the trial. James's cousins came from 3 states away. Maria arrived with a handmade quilt, each square representing breaking a toxic pattern. "I know we're not close anymore," Maria said quietly, "but I wanted you to have this, for the baby. Each square is a promise to do better than our parents did." I accepted the quilt, running my fingers over the careful stitching. "Thank you. For this and for the work you're doing." She nodded and retreated, understanding the boundaries. We might never be close again, but we could be cordial survivors of the same disaster. Halfway through the party, Robert revealed his garage project, a rocking chair he'd hand-carved with roses etched into the wood and Mitchell inscribed on the back. "Every baby needs a rocking chair from Grandpa," he said gruffly, clearly emotional. "Built with love, not bought with stolen money." The gifts were practical, thoughtful, and completely free of strings. No one would later claim the baby belongings were family property to be redistributed. No one calculated what they'd given against what they might take. It was just love, pure and simple. As the sun set, I found myself in that rocking chair surrounded by the chatter of real family. Across the yard, James played cornhole with his nephews. Grace and Patricia debated nursery organization strategies. Robert manned the grill, insisting everyone needed seconds. My phone, forgotten all day, showed missed calls from unknown numbers. The prison phone system had a distinctive area code I'd learned to recognize. Mom, Dad, or someone calling on their behalf. I deleted them without listening to voicemails. They'd made their choices, I'd made mine. The rebuilding wasn't just about the house or the family. I'd started speaking at financial abuse support groups, sharing my story with other victims. Document everything became my mantra. They'll call you selfish. They'll claim family privilege. They'll guilt you with memories and manipulate with tears. Document it all anyway. Then prosecute. One woman, barely 22, approached me after a speaking engagement. "My mom stole my college fund. Everyone says I should forgive her because she raised me." "Raising you was her legal obligation," I replied. "Stealing from you is a crime. Those are 2 separate things. You can be grateful for your childhood while still holding her accountable for theft." She cried, then relief flooding her features. Someone had finally given her permission to protect herself. These moments, helping others escape their golden goose cages, felt like completing Grandma Rose's work. She'd protected me so I could protect others. The cycle of protection replacing the cycle of exploitation. James and I also started a scholarship fund with part of the restitution money. The Rose Thompson Foundation for Financial Independence helped young adults from toxic families achieve education without dependence on relatives who might exploit them. The first recipient was a young man whose family had drained his savings account the day he turned 18. His thank you letter hangs framed in my office. "You gave me freedom from family who saw me as a wallet. Now I can become who I'm meant to be." As my due date approached, the rebuilding felt complete. The house was ready, filled with baby gear from people who actually cared. The nursery walls held photos of the Mitchells at various celebrations, the family our daughter would know as hers. One photo stood apart, Grandma Rose holding infant me, her eyes fierce with protective love. Below it, I'd framed a line from her final letter, "Love protects, it doesn't plunder." The doorbell interrupted my nesting. James answered, returning with a certified letter. The return address was the federal prison where Dad served his time. "Want me to handle it?" James offered. "No," I decided. "I'll read it, once. Then it goes in the file with the others." Dad's handwriting had grown shaky. "I have nothing now. No money, no home, no business, no family. You took everything. Are you satisfied? Was destroying 23 lives worth your precious inheritance? I hope that money keeps you warm when you're old and alone like you've made me. Your mother cries every night. Her health is failing. If she dies in here, that's on you. Family forgives, family supports, family shares. You were never really family. When that baby comes, I pray it learns what family really means. Not from you or those Mitchell vultures, but from its blood. We'll be out eventually. Grandparents have rights. Your father, whether you acknowledge it or not." I read it once, felt nothing but mild disgust, and filed it with the other evidence. His threats were empty. Multiple lawyers had assured me that convicted felons who'd stolen from their children had no grandparent rights. "He still doesn't get it," I told James. "Still thinks he's the victim." "Narcissists never change," James replied. "They just find new people to blame." That night, I felt the first strong contractions. 3 weeks early, but the doctor assured us everything was fine. "She's just eager to meet her family," she said. Labor was long but uncomplicated. Grace held one hand, James the other. Patricia kept me laughing between contractions with stories of James's childhood mishaps. Robert paced the waiting room, texting updates to the extended Mitchell clan. At 3:47 a.m., Elizabeth Rose Mitchell entered the world screaming her opinions about the bright lights and cold air. 7 pounds 2 ounces of perfect possibility. "She's beautiful," Grace whispered, tears streaming as she held her granddaughter for the first time. "Look at those eyes, just like yours, Mildred." The hospital room filled with Mitchells as word spread. Every aunt, uncle, and cousin who could make it came to welcome the newest family member. The nurses commented on how loved this baby clearly was. So many grandparents. One said not knowing Grace and Robert were the only biological ones present. "Family of the heart," I explained, "the only kind that matters." As I fed Elizabeth in the quiet hours of early morning, James sleeping in the chair beside us, I thought about rebuilding, how you could construct something beautiful from the ashes of something toxic, how chosen family could fill spaces blood relatives had abandoned, how love could grow in ground that had been salted with betrayal. My daughter would know only the good kind of family, the showing up kind, the protecting kind, the celebrating without stealing kind. She'd never be anyone's golden goose, never question if love came with a price tag, never wonder if family meant sacrifice or sacrificing to them. The Thompsons had taught me what family wasn't. The Mitchells had shown me what it was. And now, holding my daughter in the rebuilt life funded by recovered inheritance and furnished with real love, I finally understood what Grandma Rose had truly left me. Not just money, but the chance to break the cycle, to choose differently, to build something worth passing on. Elizabeth yawned, tiny fist curling against my chest. Outside the window, dawn painted the sky in soft pastels. A new day, a new generation, a new kind of Thompson woman who would only know family as love, not liability. The rebuilding was complete. The real building had just begun. Elizabeth's first birthday arrived with the kind of California sunshine that made everything feel like a movie scene. Our backyard overflowed with joy as 1-year-old Lizzie, as she'd been nicknamed, toddled between guests in her lavender dress, clutching a stuffed elephant Aunt Patricia had given her. "She's walking everywhere now," I told Grace, who was documenting every moment with her camera. "Into everything, opinions about everything, charming everyone." "Just like her mama," Grace replied warmly, though thankfully she inherited James's calm temperament to balance it out. The party was everything a first birthday should be. James's family filled every corner with laughter. His cousin's children played in the bounce house Robert had insisted on renting. Patricia orchestrated games while James's brother Michael supervised the face-painting station. The Mitchell clan had embraced their roles as Lizzie's extended family with enthusiasm that still sometimes overwhelmed me with its genuineness. "The cake's ready," James called from the kitchen, carrying out the masterpiece Grace had commissioned. A garden cake with sugar roses that looked like they'd bloomed from Grandma Rose's own bushes. As we gathered everyone for the cake ceremony, I noticed Maria standing at the garden's edge, holding a wrapped gift uncertainly. She'd RSVP'd maybe then, yes, then almost backed out this morning before I'd texted that she was welcome. "Thank you for coming," I said, approaching her. "Lizzie has so much family here who loves her. You're part of her story, even if it's complicated." Maria's eyes welled. "I brought her something special. From Great Aunt Ruth, actually. She wanted Lizzie to have it for her first birthday." Inside the carefully wrapped package was a silver rattle tarnished with age, but still beautiful. A note in Ruth's shaking handwriting explained, "This was Rose's when she was a baby. She saved it knowing someday a great-grandchild would need something untouched by the family poison. For Elizabeth Rose, may she rattle the world in only the best ways. Ruth." I held the antique rattle, feeling the weight of history. Grandma Rose as a baby, innocent of what her children would become. Now Elizabeth protected from what they'd become. The circle completing in silver and hope. "Cake time," Patricia announced, and we all gathered around as Lizzie examined the sugar roses with serious concentration before plunging both hands into the frosting. The resulting photos would be treasured. A chocolate-covered baby, surrounded by genuinely delighted family. After cake came presents. Each Mitchell family member had brought something thoughtful. Books from the cousins who taught elementary school, a handmade quilt from James's grandmother, a wooden toy chest Michael had built, educational toys, clothes for the next size up, contributions to her college fund. "No one bought anything to show off," I whispered to James. "It's all just practical, loving, normal." "That's because it is normal," he reminded me. "This is what healthy families do." As the afternoon wore on, Lizzie played contentedly in her new toy corner, while adults chatted in comfortable groups. Maria had integrated somewhat, talking with Patricia about the support group they both volunteered with. The conversation drifted to safer topics: work, vacation plans, the eternal California housing market. Then James's phone rang. He glanced at it, frowned, and walked away to answer. When he returned, his expression made my stomach drop. "That was Christopher," he said quietly. "There's been a development. Your mom's been hospitalized. Heart attack. She's stable, but it's serious." The chatter around us continued, oblivious to the way my world had tilted. Mom, in prison, having a heart attack. The woman who'd missed my wedding for a yacht trip was possibly dying in federal custody. "I need a minute," I managed, heading inside. In the quiet of our bedroom, I sat on the bed, Grandma Rose's quilt covered, and tried to sort through my feelings. Concern, yes, surprisingly. Guilt. No, though they'd want me to feel it. Sadness for what we'd never had, maybe. For what she'd chosen to destroy. Grace knocked softly and entered. "James told me. How are you feeling?" "I don't know," I admitted. She made her choices. Heart disease runs in her family. Stress from consequences she earned. But she's still... "Your mother," Grace finished. "Biology doesn't stop existing just because someone fails at the job." "Should I go see her?" Grace sat beside me, taking my hand. "That's your choice. But whatever you decide, make it for you and Lizzie, not from obligation or guilt. She forfeited those when she chose a yacht over your wedding." We returned to the party, where I plastered on a smile for Lizzie's sake. But Maria noticed something was wrong. When I quietly told her, she paled. "I knew about her heart condition," Maria said. "She's been on medication for years, the stress of prison. I should have done more." "No," I said firmly. "Her choices led her there. Her health is not your responsibility or mine." The party wound down as evening approached. Guests departed with hugs and promises to see us at next Sunday's dinner. Soon, only immediate family remained, helping clean up, while Lizzie napped in her father's arms. That night, after everyone had gone and Lizzie slept peacefully in her crib, I made a decision. I video called Christopher. "I want to know her exact condition and prognosis," I said. "Not to visit, but to be informed, and I want to ensure she's receiving proper medical care. Not for her, but so I can tell Lizzie honestly someday that I didn't let her grandmother suffer needlessly." Christopher understood. "I'll make inquiries. And Mildred, this shows remarkable grace after everything." "It's not grace," I corrected. "It's modeling for my daughter that you can enforce boundaries while still maintaining basic humanity." 3 days later, Christopher reported back. Mom had suffered a moderate heart attack brought on by untreated hypertension and the stress of incarceration. She was stable, receiving appropriate treatment, and would likely recover, but with limitations. Her remaining sentence would be served in a federal medical facility. I sent one message through Christopher. "I'm glad you're receiving proper care. Focus on your health. Our relationship remains severed, but I don't wish you suffering." Her response came back within hours. "All I want is to see my granddaughter before I die. Please, Mildred, I'm so sorry. Let me meet Elizabeth. I've changed." I didn't reply. Change required more than words from a hospital bed. It required accountability. She'd never shown amends. She'd never attempted, and respect for boundaries she'd never acknowledged. 2 weeks later, an unexpected package arrived. Inside was a photo album sent by Emma through Christopher's office. A note explained, "I found this in Mom's storage unit during the asset seizure. Thought you should have it. E." The album contained photos I'd never seen. Me as a baby toddler child. Birthday parties, Christmases, first days of school. And in every photo I looked happy, unaware of what simmered beneath the surface. Trusting the people who would one day betray me for vacation money. But one photo stopped me cold. Me at age 5 sitting on Grandma Rose's lap. She held me protectively while my parents stood in the background. On the back, in Grandma's writing, "Mildred's 5th birthday. Already see too much of myself in her. The one who sees clearly. Must protect her from them." Even then she'd known. I showed James the album that evening. We flipped through it together, this record of a childhood that felt like someone else's life. "Look how they smiled," I said, pointing to a Christmas photo, while probably planning what they'd steal when I grew up. "Or maybe," James suggested gently, "they weren't always monsters. Maybe greed corrupted them over time. Maybe losing your grandmother's approval drove them deeper into entitlement. It doesn't excuse anything, but people are complicated. He was right, of course. The parents in these photos had probably loved me in their limited way, before the money mattered more, before the greed consumed them, before they chose a yacht over my wedding. As Lizzie's first birthday month drew to a close, I made a decision. I created a small photo album for her, carefully curated images of her biological grandparents from before their crimes. A few pictures of young Emma and Tyler, some extended family members at their best moments. Your biological family exists. I wrote in a letter for her to read when older. They made choices that removed them from our lives. But you deserve to know you come from more than just crime and betrayal. There were moments of love, even if they couldn't sustain them. This is their history. The Mitchells are your present and future. The full circle felt complete as I sealed the letter for her future. The grandparents who'd stolen from me sat in federal prison, while their granddaughter celebrated with family who'd never take a penny that wasn't freely given. The inheritance they'd tried to steal had bought the house where she'd grow up surrounded by love. The family they'd said I'd destroyed had been replaced by one that would protect her always. "Mama!" Lizzie called from her crib, awake from her nap. I went to her, lifting her into my arms. She patted my face with chubby hands, babbling about her dreams. "Your great-grandma Rose would have loved you," I whispered. "She protected me so I could protect you. And look at us now, baby girl, safe and loved and surrounded by family who shows up." From downstairs, I heard James starting dinner. Sunday dinner actually moved to our house this week. Soon the Mitchells would arrive with their usual chaos of love and laughter. The dining room table would fill with people who chose to be family, who celebrated without stealing, who loved without calculating return on investment. The Thompsons had taught me what family wasn't. The Mitchells showed me daily what it was. And Lizzie would grow up knowing only the good kind, the kind that rattled silver birthday presents instead of golden cages. The circle was complete, the past acknowledged but not allowed to poison the future. And in my arms, the next generation of Thompson women grew strong and loved and free. 5 years. It seemed both eternal and instant as I stood at my grandmother's grave, Elizabeth's small hand in mine. The cemetery was peaceful in the morning light, birds singing in the old oak trees that had sheltered these grounds for over a century. "That's where Great-Grandma Rose rests," I told my daughter, now 5 and full of questions about everything. "She loved me very much, and she would have loved you." "Why didn't I get to meet her?" Lizzie asked, her father's dark eyes serious in her small face. "She got very sick before you were born, but she made sure we'd be okay. She protected us even though she couldn't be here." "Mama, why don't we see your other family?" Lizzie asked as we walked back to the car. She'd been asking more questions lately, noticing that her friends had multiple sets of grandparents, while she had only the Mitchells. "Sometimes," I said carefully, "people who should love us make choices that hurt us instead. My birth family chose money over love, so we had to protect ourselves by staying away from them. Like stranger danger, but with family." Her innocent accuracy took my breath away. Exactly like that sweetheart. We drove home through familiar streets, past the federal courthouse where justice had been served, past the church where I'd married James twice, once alone, once surrounded by chosen family. 5 years of building a life on the ashes of betrayal. At home, James was preparing for our afternoon gathering. Not a party, just our new tradition, a quarterly celebration of chosen family and survival. The dining room table was already set with Grandma Rose's china recovered from my parents' foreclosed house and reclaimed for joy instead of greed. "Mail came," James said, handing me a stack. Between bills and advertisements was a legal envelope. The return address made me pause. The Federal Bureau of Prisons. Dad, gone. I sat heavily at the kitchen table, the notice trembling in my hands. 5 years of no contact. 5 years of rejected letters and ignored phone calls. 5 years of protecting my family from his poison, and now silence forever. "I'm sorry," James said, sitting beside me. "How do you feel?" "Relieved," I admitted, then felt guilty. "Is that terrible? He was my father." "He was your abuser who happened to be your father. Those are 2 different things. You're allowed to feel however you feel." The phone rang. Christopher's name appeared. "I just received word about your father," he said gently. "The prison needs instructions about his remains. Your mother is still incarcerated and unable to make decisions. As next of kin, it falls to you." The irony wasn't lost on me. The man who'd stolen from me to buy yacht trips now needed me to handle his final arrangements. What are the options? Prison cemetery, or you can claim the remains for private burial. There's also about $300 in his commissary account and some personal effects. Donate the money to the prison library. Send the effects to Emma. She might want something. And the prison cemetery is fine. He made his choices. There was a pause. There's also a letter. His cellmate says he was writing it when the stroke hit. It's unfinished. Do you want it? Did I? After 5 years of protecting my peace, did I want his last words? Send it, I decided. I'll read it once. By afternoon, the house filled with our chosen family. Grace and Robert arrived first, Lizzie launching herself into her grandparents' arms. Patricia brought her new fiancé. James's siblings came with their children. Maria arrived with her partner and their adopted son. She'd broken the cycle by choosing to parent a child who needed love, rather than creating one to potentially damage. As everyone gathered in the backyard, I shared the news about Dad. The reactions varied from good riddance to gentle sympathy for my complicated feelings. He never met Lizzie, Grace observed. Never held his granddaughter, never saw her first steps, never heard her laugh. What inheritance did he really steal money that was recovered? But he stole from himself the chance to know this amazing child. She was right. In choosing greed over love, my parents had impoverished themselves far more than they'd ever impoverished me. Emma arrived as the sun began setting. She'd been invited to these gatherings for 2 years now, earning her place through consistent accountability and genuine change. She worked full-time at a family violence shelter and part-time on her doctorate in social work. I heard about Dad, she said quietly. Mom called me from medical. She's not handling it well. Is she still claiming they were victims? No. Actually, she asked me to give you this. Emma pulled out an envelope. She said she's been writing it for 2 years but couldn't send it. Dad dying made her realize time isn't guaranteed. 2 letters from parents I hadn't spoken to in 5 years. I tucked them both away for later. As dinner wound down and children played in the dying light, I watched my chosen family with deep gratitude. Lizzie ran between her aunts and uncles, secure in the knowledge that love meant safety, not schemes. The Mitchells had given us what the Thompsons never could: consistent, reliable, non-transactional love. Story time. Lizzie announced her Mitchell cousins gathering around. It had become tradition for me to tell stories at these gatherings, usually fairy tales reimagined or life lessons wrapped in adventure. Tell the one about the golden goose, she requested. I'd told her a sanitized version before. A goose who learned that real gold came from surrounding yourself with those who loved you for your heart, not your eggs. But tonight felt different. Once upon a time, I began, there was a girl whose family thought she was a golden goose. They didn't see her smile or her dreams or her love. They only saw what they could take from her. The adults grew quiet, recognizing this wasn't the usual story. The family was so busy trying to steal her golden eggs that they missed something important. The girl wasn't a goose at all. She was a phoenix waiting to rise. And when they tried to cage her when they chose treasure over her wedding, she burst into flames of justice. Lizzie's eyes were wide. What happened next? The phoenix rose from the ashes, stronger and brighter. She found a new nest with birds who loved her song, not her gold. And she had a baby phoenix who would never know cages, only sky. Is that us, Mama? Are we the phoenixes? Yes, baby, we're the phoenixes. Later, after guests had gone and Lizzie slept, I sat in Grandma Rose's rocking chair and opened both letters. Dad's unfinished letter was exactly what I'd expected. Mildred, I'm dying in here. Your mother, too. We're old and sick and forgotten. You did this. You destroyed your family for money. That money was ours by right. I was the son. You were just... The sentence ended there, his stroke stopping whatever venom he'd planned to spew. Even dying, he'd learned nothing. Mom's letter was different. My dearest Mildred, Dr. Chen says I need to make amends without expecting forgiveness. So here's my truth. I was a terrible mother. I chose greed over you. I celebrated on a yacht while you walked down the aisle alone. I justified theft because I felt entitled to what you'd earned. I've had 5 years to think about why. The truth is ugly. I was jealous. You were everything I wasn't. Successful, independent, loved by Rose. Instead of being proud, I wanted to punish you for surpassing me. The money was an excuse. The real theft was stealing your mother from you. I don't ask for forgiveness. I ask only that you know this in my broken way I did love you. I just loved myself more. That's my failing, not yours. You were never the golden goose. You were the daughter I didn't deserve. Give Elizabeth the family I couldn't give you. You've already broken our poisonous cycle. I'm proud of you for that, even from here. Your mother unworthy of the title. I read both letters twice, then added them to the file with all the others. Evidence of who they'd been, who they'd stayed, and why I'd been right to protect my family from them. The next morning I received Dad's effects. His prison Bible with margin notes blaming everyone but himself. A photo of the family at some long-ago Christmas before the greed consumed them completely. His watch stopped at the moment of his stroke. And a commissary receipt showing his last purchase. A birthday card. For me, according to the cellmate's note, though he'd never sent it. I donated everything except the photo which went into Lizzie's album. Evidence that monsters were once human even if they chose to become something else. The memorial notice in the paper was simple. Robert Thompson Sr., 74, preceded in death by his mother, Rose Thompson, survived by his wife, daughter, and granddaughter he never met. No service, no flowers, just truth. Mom lasted another 6 months before her heart gave out completely. This time I felt peace. They'd both died in the cages they'd built for themselves, never meeting the granddaughter they'd orphaned themselves from for vacation money. At our next quarterly gathering, I stood to make a toast. To Grandma Rose, who saw clearly and protected fiercely. To the Mitchells, who showed us what family really means. To Emma and Maria, and everyone working to break cycles. To Tyler, who's getting out next month and starting fresh in a halfway house 3 states away. To rehabilitation and accountability. To surviving family betrayal and building something better. And I continued looking at my daughter playing with her cousins, to the next generation who will never question whether love comes with a price tag, who will know family as the people who show up, not just share DNA, who will understand that blood makes you related, but choice makes you family. To choice, everyone echoed, glasses raised. As the evening progressed, I found myself in the garden James had planted with roses from Grandma's house. Each bloom reminded me of her protection, her foresight, her love that transcended death and greed. Thank you, I whispered to the roses to her memory, for seeing what they were, for protecting what I'd become, for the $47,000 that revealed everything. The money's long spent, but the lessons last forever. From inside, I heard Lizzie's laughter mixing with the voices of people who'd chosen us again and again, who celebrated our joys without calculating profit, who showed up for weddings instead of sailing away. The Thompsons had taught me that family could be a curse, a cage, a con game. The Mitchells had shown me it could be a blessing, a shelter, a choice renewed daily. And Lizzie would grow up knowing only the second kind, protected by the phoenix, who rose from the ashes of the first. 5 years after my wedding day betrayal, I stood in my rose garden surrounded by chosen family, raising a daughter who'd never be anyone's golden goose. The inheritance Grandma Rose left wasn't just money. It was the chance to break a generational curse and build something beautiful in its place. Family isn't who you're born to, it's who shows up. And on this evening, as on every gathering since my real family showed up in abundance, not for money or manipulation or inheritance dreams, but for love, simple, honest, priceless love. The Thompsons chose a yacht. I chose the Mitchells. Looking around at the life we'd built from the ruins of that betrayal, I knew I'd gotten the better deal. Love over money, presence over presence, family over blood. Every single time. As I finish sharing this story with you, I want you to know something. If you're reading this and seeing your own family reflected in the Thompsons, you're not alone. If you've been called selfish for protecting yourself, ungrateful for setting boundaries, or cruel for demanding justice, I see you. I was you. Family abuse is real abuse. Financial exploitation by relatives is still theft. And choosing to protect yourself and your future family isn't betrayal, it's survival. My question for you is this. What would Grandma Rose tell you to do? Who in your life sees clearly and wants to protect you, even if it's only yourself? Because sometimes the greatest inheritance isn't money. It's the strength to say no more and the courage to build something better. If my story resonated with you, please share it. Not for views or likes, but because someone out there is sitting at their kitchen table staring at their emptied bank account, wondering if they're wrong to feel betrayed by family. They need to know they're not crazy, they're not selfish, they're not alone. Like this video, if you believe chosen family can be stronger than blood ties. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories of survival and triumph. Share it with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to choose yourself over toxic family. And comment below, have you had to choose between family and your own well-being? How did you find your chosen family? What would you tell someone just starting this journey? Remember, blood makes you related, but choice makes you family. And you always, always have the right to choose. Thank you for joining me on this journey. May you find your Mitchells, protect your roses, and rise like the phoenix you were always meant to be. With love and hope for your own freedom, Mildred Mitchell. P.S. To those still trapped in golden cages, the door isn't locked. You just have to be brave enough to open it. And when you do, you'll find a whole world of people ready to be the family you deserve. Trust me, I know.